Hello, this is a guy who likes fanfiction and is too lazy to read, so here is Neo Yondaime Hokage in audio form. Check the description for the links to the author. Chapter 51, Lost Ambitions. Meanwhile, in the Valley of the End, the fight between Sai and Sasuke was fierce and brutal. Neither of the two combatants was willing to let up, and the cursed seal on Sasuke's neck was able to give the Uchiha an edge for some of the time. Despite this, Sasuke was surprised at Sai's abilities and skills as a ninja. Throughout the fight, Sai was not only able to hold his grounds against Sasuke, but on several occasions he was able to give the Uchiha quite a thrashing, and his Kojojiga's Super Beast's imitation pictures only added to Sasuke's troubles. Sasuke, using the second level of his Sharingan and a few Katon jutsus, was eventually able to dispel Sai's Kojojigas. Currently, Sasuke and Sai were standing on top of water logs in the ever-running river at opposite ends of each other. "You're better than I expected, Sai," Sasuke noted, "but I won't succumb to the dead last like you." Sai gave the Uchiha no remark while holding his scroll and paintbrush in his hands. Giving Sasuke a fake smile, Sai remarked, "It's clear to me Naruto-kun has a big dick in contrast with you dickless. Because unlike you, he had the balls to own up to his responsibilities to Konoha and accept disciplinary training through effort and hard work rather than running away looking for shortcuts to acquire power like how you're trying to do." Sasuke snarled venomously at Sai before engaging the painting-type ninja. The two teens battled each other on top of the raging river waters in hard taijutsu combat. Jumping off of the water, Sasuke ran speedily up the side of the ravine and did a set of hand seals before turning to look at Sai, who was down below running up the wall after him. "Katon, Gokakyu no Jutsu," Sasuke said as he blew a large fireball into Sai's direction as it burned and grazed the side of the ravine. Acting fast, Sai painted a falcon and then made a hand sign. "Ninpo, Kojojiga," Sai said, bringing his artwork to life. The falcon flew quickly from out of Sai's painting scroll before Sai jumped onto its back. He safely avoided the fireball that plunged into the river, creating an explosion and a smoke screen as a result of the flames cancelling out in the water. "Where did he go?" Sasuke asked aloud to no one in particular. Sasuke suddenly felt something grab and lift him into the air from the ravine. He looked up to see Sai on top of his animated falcon painting. The falcon flew at a fast speed before throwing Sasuke into the wall of the ravine. The Uchiha, after a hard impact, started plummeting to the water. Before reaching the water, however, the falcon came and collided into him in a brute body crash. Sasuke flew into the wall again before hitting the ground by the flowing river as collateral damage. Sai jumped off his falcon as it dissolved into ink and splashed onto the ground. He walked over to the fallen genin who was currently trying to pull himself together. While making his way to Sasuke, Sai said, "Regardless of Sakura-san's senseless infatuation with you and desire to have you back with that promise she wanted me to make and keep to her, I have my orders, which is of higher priority." Sasuke scowled at Sai, who gave him a cold facial expression in return. "You have one of two choices," Sai continued. "You can either do this the easy way, which entails surrendering and being brought back to Konoha in one piece, or you can do this the hard way, which entails losing and being brought back to Konoha in pieces. I don't care either way." "Who the hell is this guy?" Sasuke thought, angry. "He doesn't fight like a genin." Sasuke gradually stood back up and faced Sai defiantly. "I choose none of the above," Sasuke retorted. "I refuse to be returned to a village where I'm underappreciated and looked at as Naruto's nameless second." "If your performance moments ago marks you as Naruto-kun's nameless second," Sai remarked, "then I would look at Naruto-kun as being incredibly weak. It's little wonder why you'd carefully labeled yourself as his nameless second under such circumstances, because it would hurt the Uchiha's pride to know how low they've fallen." Sasuke was seething at Sai's logic and sarcasm. "You know and understand nothing about me, Sai." Sai's expression was blank. "You know nothing of what my life is and was like," Sasuke yelled. "You don't know what it's like to come from a prestigious family and clan that was betrayed and slaughtered by your own older brother that you once looked up to. You can never understand what it's like to lose a father, mother, and the rest of your family all in one night. You, who never had a family at all." Sai continued, looking at Sasuke with the same expression. "Konoha knew of my circumstances and everything that's happened, and yet what did the people of that village do?" Sasuke continued. "Nothing. They did nothing to give me the kind of power and ability I need as an Avenger to go after Itachi. No. They spent and invested their time and resources giving that kind of power to Naruto, the spoiled son of Yondaime and Yondaime Hokage. They gave him everything: power, respect, prestige as a clan leader and member of the village council. Even while as an elite genin, Kakashi and all of the other jounins and his own sensei took orders from him without question, and the rest of us genins were forced to obey his every word. After eyewitnessing Naruto-kun punch a huge crater into the arena floor before performing the Hiration and slaughtering all of those Suna and Oto jounins instantaneously during the invasion, Sai pointed out, they weren't stupid enough to start questioning the orders he later gave them and the rest of us like you did. Plus, he made it clear that he was the one who explained the invasion plan to the Hokages after he learned about it from Gaara. He knew more about the operation of the invasion in much more details than any of us did, so it only made sense that he was the one in charge. He wasn't the same Naruto-kun you went to the academy with. That's just it, Sasuke added. I trained and pushed myself as hard as I could through all these years I've been in that worthless village to become stronger, and nothing has changed. My fight and defeat at Itachi's hands is proof of that, yet Naruto was able to battle and beat Itachi in one fight before becoming an elite genin. He was even given the ability to use and create S-class ninjutsus and kinjutsus while as an elite genin. Konoha spent so much time catering to the last Namikaze while allowing the name of the Uchiha clan to be overshadowed and forgotten. I will not stay in a village that will see to me remaining weak and undervalued while keeping me trapped in Naruto's shadow. Honestly, Sai remarked, I have no idea what Sakura-san sees in you, an envious craven little coward who's always blaming everything on Konoha and Naruto-kun. You're no different from how Neji once was. The only difference is that he was willing to change his future and stop using fate and everyone else as scapegoats for his problems. Neji didn't try to run away from his problems, and instead he grew up and learned to face and deal with them as a true ninja, something you should be doing. Don't put me in the same boat as the Hyugas, Sasuke spat. They could never measure up to the level of status and strength the Uchihas possessed. And if that's true, then why are you the only Uchiha left, besides Itachi? Sai asked. Your clan's arrogance and corrupted ambitions to be better and stronger than everyone else in Konoha only brought about its own self-destruction, and it'll also bring about your own undoing. The Namikaze clan's close extinction was the result of outside enemy forces that hated them for their abilities, though that clan never sought to prove that they were or be better than everyone else. That is why that clan still exists and possess the status they held before. Sasuke growled under his breath, say what you want, Sai, but I'll do what I must to achieve my goals. I'll attain power through whatever method it takes, and neither you nor anyone else will stand in my way. Have you learned nothing through all that happened to you and your clan and all that I told you? Sai asked with an unsurprised expression. There was a brief moment of silence between the two genins. Sasuke soon remembered the words Itachi told him several years ago before his departure that night after slaughtering the Uchiha clan. You can also activate your Mangekyo Sharingan as I did. But there is one condition. You must kill your closest friend. After thinking about all that happened so far, Sasuke at that moment started chuckling with a perplexed Sai staring at him. What's so funny? Sai inquired. A moment later, Sasuke explained, it's interesting that you present yourself to everyone as a cynical, crude-mouthed genin with no regard to the opinions or feelings of others, Sakura's especially. Sai stayed quiet as Sasuke continued, yet, despite your character and how you have everyone regard you, you actually went through the trouble of keeping Sakura's promise in getting me to return back to Konoha. You even gone as far as a ceasefire to make a verbal attempt to convince me to return back with you peacefully. You talked and reasoned with me as a good friend and teammate with some concern about Sakura's silly feelings for me. I highly doubt the other genins would have bothered to do what you did. You might not say it, Sai, but you are a good friend to both Sakura and myself. Sai's eyes narrowed as he saw the third Tomo appear in Sasuke's eyes. That's why I have to kill you, Sasuke asserted. Sai gave no emotion reaction to Sasuke's statement. What will my supposed death accomplish besides removing me as your obstacle and making you a wanted criminal for turning traitor and murdering a Konoha ninja? I can tell you, but you wouldn't understand my reasons, Sasuke replied. All you have to know is that I will not allow the Uchiha name to stay in the Namikaze clan's shadow or in anyone else's. You're so obsessed with Naruto-kun and Itachi that you're willing to go as far as to betray your own people and comrades for power, Sai said. You're a very sad kid, Sasuke, with lost ambitions. Sasuke snorted as he got ready to fight again. Seeing this, Sai readied himself for another fight. You may have caught my off guard those couple of times earlier, Sasuke said, but there's more to my power than you know. At that, he charged and engaged Sai in taijutsu combat again. Sasuke resorted to using the third level of his Sharingan to anticipate and counter Sai's attacks. The raven-haired Uchiha was able to predict a number of Sai's attacks, but because of his lack of experience at fully understanding the powers of the Sharingan, Sasuke's abilities weren't as efficient and effective as Itaka's. I know some things about the Sharingan, Sai said as he blocked an attack from Sasuke. It's not all that cracked up to be, and using it as heavily as you are now will only prove to be a crutch to you in end. Shut up, Sasuke retorted before back-swinging his feet at Sai's legs, only to see the pale-skinned teen backflip a couple of times away from him. The Uchiha charged in pursuit of him as he took out a large shuriken from his weapon arsenal and prepared to use it. Seeing the threat, Sai pulled out his Kodaki and parried the large shuriken. The two boys pressed their weapons against each other in the struggle for dominance. You're no match for me, Sai, Sasuke said as he pushed his large shuriken against Sai's Kodaki. You don't have a chance against the power of my eyes. Even with your Sharingan, Sai remarked, you couldn't foresee that you'd have no balls. Growling from the insult, Sasuke jumped backwards and threw the shuriken at Sai. Sai leaned backwards as the shuriken flew over him. As the shuriken came flying back at Sai, Sai reached into his pouch and threw 3 kunaus with exploding notes attached to them onto the spinning shuriken. The shuriken blew to pieces and fell harmlessly into the water. Holding onto his Kodaki, Sai rushed at Sasuke, and the Uchiha, pulling out his kunao, in turn, ran over to Sai. The two met up and resumed their taijutsu battle. Sasuke threw kicks and punches at Sai while Sai for his part was using his speed and foresight to evade and block the attacks. It wasn't long before they hit a stalemate. As it stood, punches met punches and kicks met kicks that weren't deflected by the opponent's attacks, and kunao met Kodaki. The Uchiha grew frustrated that he couldn't easily take Sai out as fast as he'd have liked to. Finding an opening after the prolonged stalemate, Sai gripped his Kodaki and spun around as he bent down and slashed at Sasuke. The Uchiha, however, saw this and flipped backwards only to see another Sai appeared and slash him across the abdomen with his Kodaki. Cringing from the sharp pain that came from the attack, Sasuke, losing his balance, fell to the waters. Sai was about to stomp down on Sasuke's form, but before he could, Sasuke rolled across the water as he pulled away. Standing back up, he held onto his now bleeding abdomen while his soaked shirt and white pants were stained with his blood. Sai gave no facial expression as he looked at his opponent with emotionless eyes. I warned you before, Sai said, I have no intentions of bringing you back in one piece if you refuse to surrender, teammates or not. Sai speedily dashed out of Sasuke's sight. Before Sasuke could react, he felt a cold razor-sharp blade slash down his back. The raven-haired genin screamed out from the sheer pain of the assault as he reached for his now bleeding back. Sai, focusing chakra into his right foot, swung kick Sasuke to the back where the wound was, adding to the injury he already inflicted as Sasuke was launched forward from him. The Uchiha skidded across the surface of the water before being met up with second Sumibushin, Enk clone. The Sumibushin clotheslined Sasuke to the face, causing the boy to flip backwards before hitting the water again face down. Sasuke was lying on top of the water motionlessly as the Sumibushin stood over him. Leaning down, the Sumibushin grabbed Sasuke by the hair, pulling his head back to see Sasuke looking at him with one eye closed. You're weak, the Sumibushin remarked, and as mentioned earlier, using the Sharingan as heavily as you were would only prove to be a crutch to you in the end. The Sumibushin brought its right kneecap into Sasuke's face, breaking Sasuke's nose on contact as blood spilled from out of the nose. The clone dropped Sasuke's head to the water with the Uchiha appearing to lose consciousness. Sai walked over to the second clone as the first one followed behind him. All three of them stood over Sasuke's form with his face in the water. You lack true power, Sai stated, you never had it since the beginning of this fight. At that point, Sasuke felt the influence of the cursed seal growing stronger as its power spread through his body. Sai then sensed a dark power growing within the downed genin. I'll show you true power, Sasuke said as his cursed seal spread more, turning his skin ash gray. His hair became spiked and lengthened to the middle of his back. A black mark resembling a shuriken appeared on his now healed nose and between his eyes. Speaking of eyes, his turned black although the Sharingan was still there. Sasuke rose from the water, whereabouts Sai and his two sumibushins waited, having felt the change in Sasuke's chakra. When Sasuke stood on top of the water again, he suddenly cringed in pain and a hand-like wing burst from his back. Sai and his clones jumped away and stood a few feet away from Sasuke while keeping a cautious position. Soon another wing burst out of Sasuke's back, giving him awkward-looking appearance. "Behold my power," Sasuke declared, "with this, I can finish you, and most importantly outclass Naruto and kill Itachi." Sai and his sumibushins slid into their ready stance, their kodakais in hand. Sasuke flew forward after them as Sai and his clones rushed forward to meet up with the transformed Sasuke. Meanwhile several miles away, Kakashi, Pakun, Haku, and a couple of Chiryunins with them were hurrying over to where Shikamaru and the others were. Because of the missions Konoha have been getting, many of the Jounins and other Chiryunins were unavailable in going after Sasuke after his desertion, which was why Shikamaru and Temari were selected along with 5 genins to go after him. Kakashi, upon his return, went in pursuit of them with Haku and the other Chiryunins with him. If they met up with any of their comrades who were injured in any way, Haku's medic skills were definitely going to be needed. They ran into Genma and his partner on the way. Haku treated Genma's and his partner's injuries before the both of them started on their way back to Konoha, with Kakashi and the others continuing on their way to catch up with Shikamaru and his team. Kakashi could only hope that things didn't get out of hand for Shikamaru and the others to handle on their own. Back in Nami no Kuni, deep inside the temple, Naruto was still traveling deeper into the mountain, with barely any light to see with. The heat from within the mountain was taking a toll on Naruto, who found himself sweating and fanning himself to keep cool. "Where the hell am I?" Naruto said lowly to himself before passing his left hand across the wall of the tunnel he was walking through. Feeling the awkward feeling on his fingers, Naruto pulled his hand away and examined the substance on his hand. He brought it closer to his face to examine its smell. Magnesium, Naruto realized. Now remembering about the small flashlight in his vest pocket and feeling stupid for totally forgetting about it, he took it out and turned it on. Looking around with it, he saw large deposits of magnesium all around the tunnel walls and floor. He knew that with magnesium all around him he couldn't use fire of any sort. He continued his trek through the tunnel with the flashlight lighting up his path. After a good amount of walking, Naruto found an opening at the end of the tunnel. "Finally," Naruto said as he walked faster to reach the end of the tunnel. When he got there, however, he walked into a large cave and looked around for any other exits and found none. "Terrific," Naruto remarked cynically as he continued his investigation. He soon walked further into the cave and found a large opening in the ground. He walked over to it and looked into the opening to find that it was a deep pit into the ground. Casting the light of his flashlight into the pit, Naruto took a guess in measuring its depths. "Give or take," Naruto said, "I say about 90 feet deep." Moving away from the pit, Naruto started contemplating on everything that happened between him, Sujiro, Inari and Tsunami thus far. Sitting down the ground up against the wall, Naruto decided to think things out more carefully. He knew that his time was short and that it wouldn't be long until Sujiro found him. "Sujiro came up with an interesting method of using Inari and Tsunami against me," Naruto contemplated as he replayed the battle scenes. "Regardless of the damages I inflicted on them, Tsunami and Inari just kept coming at me." And Sujiro said that he integrated the both of them into special bodies and that taking them out wouldn't be as easy as cake. "When I injected my medic-based Akra into Inari, I found that my theory was correct. The more time and chakra spent fighting them, the stronger and faster Sujiro became. That being the case, Inari and Tsunami are keys to Sujiro's defeat." After thinking over the situation further, Naruto saw that decisive action with his new thought-out plan was in order. Reaching into the left pocket of his Jounin vest, Naruto opened and pulled out the 2 medic vials he's been working for a while. "Well," Naruto said, "now is as good of time to use them." After taking out a needle from the same pocket, he inserted the needle into the cap of the first vial, carefully filling the needle with the liquid contents. He repeated this with the second vial as he watched the liquid contents mixed in together, changing from light blue and yellow to an aqua-green color. When that part of the task was done, Naruto placed the empty vials back into his pocket. He then sprayed a few small drops out of the needle to make sure the needle was ready. Taking a breath, he inserted the needle carefully into his right leg and injected the contents into his body until the needle was empty of it. The effect was almost instantaneous as Naruto cringed from the unwholesome feeling and pain his body was experiencing as a result of the concoction injected into his body. The shock knocked him completely unconscious before falling straight to the ground on his left side. "Naruto," a voice called out, "Naruto." In his subconscious, Naruto laid motionless on a clean matted floor in a room that looked like a traditional Japanese meeting room. He opened his eyes to see a familiar figure moving closer to him. The figure stood over him before kneeling down on one knee in front of him, with chained cuffs around his wrists and 2 pieces of paper around the cuffs with the kanji seal on them. "You seem to be having some trouble with this new enemy," the voice acknowledged, "but you've come too far now to lie there on the ground as you are presently." Despite what the figure told him, Naruto couldn't help but smile at him. "It's nice to see you again, father," Naruto said, "it's truly been a long time." "Indeed," Minato said, "that Fukafugen jutsu you used back then placed and sealed both Kyuubi and myself away in a death-like state of inactivity. It was only recently that we were reactivated from our inactivity, though Kyuubi's reawakening was faster than mine. It was hard trying to reconnect with you for the past 2 months, Naruto explained. "Nothing I did seemed to work and Ero-jisan also had a hard time fixing the problem. Your body was badly damaged, Naruto, as was your chakra coils, which severed the connection you had with me. Needless to say, Kyuubi was reconnected with me also," Naruto said, though his methods were less tasteful. "You ungrateful little worm," Kyuubi's voice spat from the background, "after your performance earlier, your condition would have been much worse had it not been for my chakra healing your body, you impudent human." "Says you furball," Naruto retorted, only to receive a beastly snarl from the great fox. Naruto stood up from the matted floor. "I was unprepared for the side effects of this revised medic jutsu I came up with and used." "On yourself I saw," Minato sighed, "still taking risky gambles with your well-being." "What can I say?" Naruto replied, "old habits die hard. Besides, I've came up with a way to beat Sujiro through his own abilities, and this medic jutsu will be a great asset in accomplishing this." Minato knew that this wasn't the first time his son developed methods of beating if not holding back from killing his opponents by making their own specialized abilities backfire on them, bloodline limit or not. "What is your plan?" Minato inquired. Meanwhile, Sujiro was searching for Naruto as he and his 2 subordinates traveled deeper into the mountain. So far they found no trace of him, but Sujiro wasn't about to let up yet. He focused chakra through his diamond body to illuminate his body as a light source through the darkened tunnel. "Where are you?" Sujiro taunted aloud. "You can't hide from me for long, Naruto. I'll find you eventually, and when I do, I'll tear you apart and crush your bones." Tsunami and Inari went ahead to go after Naruto and deal with him accordingly. Elsewhere inside the mountain, Naruto started moving as consciousness was restored to his being. He gradually rose back off the ground and stood back on his feet. The blonde was already feeling chakra pouring from out of the seal on his stomach and into his chakra coils. He took a few deep breaths before opening his eyes, revealing 2 sharp and fierce ocean blue eyes belonging to a ninja famed for his exploits. "Time to get my plan started." At the Valley of the End, Sasuke vanished and a moment later reappeared in the same spot he had stood. The 2 Sumibushins in front of him held the area where they had been hit and wore a pained expression before bursting into ink. "Where are you now? Trying to hide? Are you that afraid of me now?" Sasuke asked as he looked around for the elusive teen. He vaguely heard Sai's movements, but couldn't tell where it came from. Then he felt a hard blow crash into his back, sending him flying forward again. Sasuke used his hand-like wings to stop his flight and turned to see Sai standing there with a large winged ram painting standing beside him. Sai at this point had sustained a number of cuts and other injuries from dealing with Sasuke in his transformed state, and parts of his clothes had sustained a series of damages. Through all this though, Sai was still able to fight. "You're really pissing me off," Sasuke said, "I had just about enough of you." "The feeling is mutual," Sai said, "let's end this." Sasuke was about to prepare his Chidori when a blur suddenly appeared from the side where Sai and Sasuke were fighting. "Kabuto," Sasuke said with an annoyed tone. "Sasuke-kun, I've come to help," Kabuto said, pushing his glasses further up on his nose. "I don't need your help to take out this loser," Sasuke retorted. Kabuto smirked. "If that's true, then you would have finished the fight by now. Even with your cursed seal you're having problems with Sai-san." Clearly Sasuke-kun's skills as a ninja are on levels surprisingly higher than yours. Sasuke turned and growled dangerously at Kabuto, "Don't ever compare me to that trash over there." "I mean no disrespect," Kabuto pointed out, "all I'm saying is that good ninjas know when to admit when they need help from a higher power, which is the reason for your deserting Konoha for Oto, am I correct?" Sasuke said nothing in return as he looked back at Sai. Sai didn't know too much about Kabuto, but he spied and kept tabs on him enough to know not to underestimate him nor let his guard down around him at any time. Kabuto focused chakra into his hands and formed a chakra scalpel with them. This could be trouble, Sai thought. Dealing with Sasuke in his current form was one thing, but taking on Kabuto on top of that made things more complicated. Nevertheless, Sai wasn't planning on backing down now. Meanwhile in Nami no Kuni, Inari and Tsunami raced through the tunnel in pursuit of Naruto. They scanned the area, making sure not to miss any corners of their surround environment. They both of them came the end of the tunnel where the large cave was. The mother and son pair looked around and found Naruto nowhere in sight. Before anything else was done, a transparent figure stealthily moved from the shadows of the cave and appeared right behind Tsunami and Inari. The figure grabbed both fighters by the back of their necks and shot large quantities of aqua-green chakra into their bodies. Both fighters struggled to break free, but eventually their movements came to a complete cease. When the task was done, Naruto placed the both of them to the ground, seeing that neither of them would pose as a threat to him anymore. The blonde deactivated his transparency jutsu as he looked down at the two fighters with the glowing aqua-green chakra vanishing completely into their bodies. "It's done," Naruto said before he sensed a strong chakra signature making its way over to him and fast. He grabbed both bodies and jumped out of the way with them as a large diamond fist plunged into the ground where he previously was. Naruto flipped and slid backwards on his feet while holding both Inari and his mother before coming to a stop some distance away from Sujiro. "I finally found you," Sujiro said with a sinister smile. Turning to the exit, Sujiro threw several diamond shards over to it and sealed the exit off with diamond bars cutting off the path. "You have nowhere to run now, Naruto," Sujiro said, feeling victory was soon to be his. "This cave will be your resting tomb. I'll be sure to mark your memorial stone with inscriptions describing your valiant but failed effort to take out Iwa's strongest shinobi." Naruto said nothing in return to Sujiro's words. He set the two bodies down to the ground and stood up to face his towering opponent. "Does Iwa seek my death so incredibly that they're willing to risk war with both Konoha and Suna?" Naruto asked. That was when Sujiro let out a laugh that Naruto found disturbing. "I'll tell you the truth," Sujiro said, "that Tsuchikage never actually sent me, his niece Tsuchiko-chan, nor anyone his other jounins here to fight you and the others with you. I took it upon myself to trick those idiots into coming here without our Tsuchikage's knowledge of it." "Is that right?" Naruto asked. "Yes indeed," Sujiro remarked, "especially after the Tsuchikage turned down a mission Otogakuer had requested of him, a mission to have you dealt with once and for all." Naruto maintained a calm demeanor as he pieced everything together. "So you resorted to treason against your Kajin village while dragging fellow unsuspecting jounins from your own village to their deaths. You risked war between three nations that would have been instigated by Otogakuer through you just so you could satisfy your own selfish ambitions." "I did what I had to," Sujiro shot back. "I have no regrets. That foolish Tsuchikage was weak and too much of a coward to act in the first place. The fool wouldn't budge from his decision, nor would he listen to me in giving me the chance to battle and take you out. I was not about to miss my opportunity to challenge and prove my might against you. Better ninjas than you have challenged me," Naruto remarked, "and all have met their defeat at my hands. Well, I'll be the first and only one to have changed that and bring about your ultimate demise," Sujiro countered. "No, you will not," Naruto shot back, "you'll just be as another to add to the growing statistic of failures." Sujiro ran and brought his fist forward to strike Naruto. The blonde however easily evaded his attack. Seeing that his attack didn't hit its mark, Sujiro turned and raced after Naruto again with a fury of fast punches. Naruto danced and waltzed around the attacks with speed and fluidity which served to infuriate the Iwa jounin. Sujiro saw that Naruto was much faster than before and he was hard-pressed to keep up with the blonde-haired elite jounin. Naruto flipped back a couple of feet away from Sujiro as he prepared his next move. "Ready to die?" Sujiro asked as he readied himself to attack again. "Done that, been there, wasn't all that," Naruto remarked, though the experience for you will be different in your case. Excuse me, asked a confused Sujiro. I died once before, Naruto explained, by my own hands with a Kinjutsu Oji I created while fighting and killing Orochimaru with it 2 months ago. Say what? Sujiro replied with an even more perplexed expression, how can you be standing and moving if what you say is true? You should be dead if anything. True, Naruto admitted, but I came with a medic Kinjutsu that revived life back into my body. You see, my mother, the Yondaime Hokage, trained me in many forms of healing and medic jutsus almost all my life while growing up. I know a great deal about the human anatomy and chakra coils, and with this knowledge I was able to come up with some medic jutsus of my own, one of which I infused into your body just moments before you entered this cave. What? Sujiro said as he watched Naruto go through a set of hand seals before stopping. Ninpo, Iyusu Henshitsu no Jutsu, Naruto said before seeing Sujiro clasped to his chest in severe pain. He collapsed to his knees and left hand as the excruciating pain traveled throughout his body. Aqua-green chakra appeared and spread all around Sujiro's body as the diamonds around his body disintegrated, causing him to gradually shrink back to his original size. Inari and Tsunami also started glowing in aqua-green chakra before deteriorating into what looked like crystal dust. The diamond bars blocking the only exit also dissolved into crystal dust, clearing the way out. Naruto went over to the 2 piles of crystal dust that were once Tsunami and Inari, and retrieved the 2 items that stood out on top of the piles, 2 golf ball-sized diamonds with seal writings around them. He placed the 2 diamonds into his pocket and walked over to Sujiro who was lying on his back, cringing from the unbearable pain his body was suffering through. He stood over the IWA ninja who looked back at him with hatred and contempt with the same chakra glowing around his body. What, have you, done, to me, Sujiro said with a strained voice. Coldly Naruto replied, something contrary to the nature of medic jutsus. The IWA Jounin looked at Naruto who looked down at him with hardened eyes. I placed a virus inside your body, Naruto said. Sujiro's eyes widened on hearing those words. You see, green medic chakra is used in healing injuries of many forms, Naruto explained, from stab wounds, broken bones and blood vessels, damaged organs, you name it. However, this viral aqua-green chakra I infused into you does the complete opposite. Rather than healing, this viral chakra's sole purpose is to hinder healing and heavily damage one's body, immune system, and chakra coils. It's an upgraded medic version to the original Kara no Tsuyasen no Jutsu, a poisoning jutsu a missing nin used on my mother years ago. Though effective however, it wasn't enough to fully bring down a Sunin. Damn you, Sujiro strained as the pain ripped through his body. He let out a scream of sheer pain as Naruto stood over him with no signs of sympathy or remorse. You see Sujiro, Naruto explained, in this fight, you made 5 fatal mistakes. First, you kidnapped and used innocent people who are precious to me as instruments to use against me. I despise those who use innocent people as weapons for their own use and then dispose of them after their use have worn out. Second, you threatened to rape 3 females whom you consciously knew I hold in high regards. I will admit that there are times I'm a pervert, but to willfully force yourself on another person, that's despicable. And by shamelessly telling me what you were planning on doing to Anko-chan, Ryo-chan, and Tsunami-san, you've practically signed your own death warrant. Third, creating an artificial Jujutsu that had features that were carbon copy rip-offs fashioned after the Sharingan and Byakugan. I have years of experience dealing with both the Sharingan and Byakugan and I had time to come with some methods to get around them. After I figured out that your Jujutsu mimicked some of those features belonging to the 2 Jujutsus, all I had to do was counter them like I had with the Byakugan and Sharingan. Fourth, bragging to me, a medic nin, early on before the fight even started about how you were able to integrate Inari and Tsunami-san into special combat bodies, bad idea. The one thing ninjas should never do is reveal secrets to the enemy about how they are planning on fighting them. As a medic nin, I took the time to study the bodies you placed them in while and after fighting them, and I managed to make the link that you were using those bodies as absorbers to increase your strength and speed. They were absorbing the chakra I was using against them and converting them into energy for you to infuse into yourself, which was also why you were able to maintain that diamond body of yours. You used the real Tsunami-san and Inari as batteries to give life to those bodies. After I figured that out, I injected myself with the vials that contained the viral substances needed for my Iyusu Henshitsu no Jutsu. For that jutsu to work, I had to convert and concentrate it into my chakra coils before introducing it into those two chakra-absorbing bodies. When the viral chakra in its large quantities was sucked into your body, all I had to do was accelerate its absorption into your chakra coils through your fighting me. Fifth, a ninja like you had no business challenging someone of my level. You selfishly sold out your own village and comrades just so you could have a shot at fighting me. Kakashi Naizen once told me that those who abandon their mission are trash. But those who betray their comrades are worse than trash. You Sujiro, are worse than trash. You, bastard, Sujiro spat between his cringes of pain, spare me your fucking lecture. Naruto focused a strong amount of his wind affinity around Sujiro's body and moments later. Futon, Kuki no Kyutai, Naruto said as he encased Sujiro in a concentrated atmospheric dome. The wind-manipulated dome had heavy atmospheric pressure compressed into it. Naruto, still using wind manipulation, levitated Sujiro's body off the ground and over to the pit. He lowered him down into the pit until he was all the way inside of it. I tell you today, Naruto screamed loudly enough for Sujiro to hear, that while you are in the darkness deep within the abyss of the earth, you will by no means stay concealed in the earth's darkness. You will be made to see the light in all its power. Reaching into his trench coat, Naruto took out a rock from within it that was covered in magnesium and wrapped with an exploding note. And I never go back on my word, that's my Nindo, Naruto yelled as he tossed the rock into the pit. Halfway upon its descent, Naruto did a hand sign and caused the note on the rock to explode, spreading sparks and fire around the rock covered in magnesium. Sujiro's eyes widened when he saw the fireball coming straight down at him to crash into the atmospheric dome he was trapped in. Damn you Naruto! Sujiro screamed at the top of his lungs just moments before the small fireball crashed into the dome, rupturing and releasing the atmospheric pressure, thus completely destroying both the dome and Sujiro's body as it was consumed in white fire that was instantly followed by a huge violent explosion. The giant blaze of white flames rapidly made its way up the pit to the surface, trailing up the magnesium-covered walls of the pit. Series of ground-shaking explosions followed continuously as the flames and heat intensified. Time to go, Naruto yelled as he used Yondaime-like speed to run out through the now lit-up tunnels as the white flames and explosions seemingly chased after him. Not once did he look back as he raced out of the tunnels and eventually, out of the doomed temple. Naruto made it to safety outside the mountain. When he was a good distance away from the danger, he turned and watched as a large segment of mountain burned and collapsed into itself. It was a while later when the ground stopped shaking, with large amounts of black smoke coming from out of the fallen temple and into the skies. Such irony, Naruto remarked, it takes extreme heat and extreme pressure within the earth to create diamonds. But yours aren't worth unearthing. Rest in hell, Sujiro. With that said, Naruto turned and hurried back to where Ryota and Anko were. Meanwhile, Kakashi, Pakun, Haku, and the other Chiyunins reached Niji and Chuji. Both of them suffered from severe injuries that were near fatal and both genins were in need of immediate medical attention. A few of the Chiyunins helped and carried them back to Konoha. The rest with Kakashi later met up with Kiba and Kankuro who was dragging Kiba with his arm over his shoulder, keeping the dog user to falling to the floor. Akamaru, with injuries of his own, was being carried in Kiba's left arm. After Kankuro set them down, Haku tended to Kiba's injuries with the herbs and other treatments she brought along with her. Despite his injuries and near-death experience, Kiba was obviously happy to see Haku again. I'm happy to see that your injuries aren't too life-threatening, Kiba-san, Haku said. It must have been a very difficult fight. Nothing I couldn't handle, Haku-chan, Kiba remarked with a toothy grin, trying to look tough in front of the female medicnin in spite of his condition. That Oto Jounin I fought just caught me off guard, that's all really. Kankuro closed his eyes and shook his head at the sight of Kiba's behavior. That's not how I remember it, Kankuro muttered under his breath. If I recall, you and your pet were getting your asses kicked. I heard that, Kiba snorted, and Akamaru isn't my pet, he's my partner and friend, remember that. Akamaru barked at Kankuro who smirked at them before turning to Kakashi. Where are the others? Kakashi asked. They went up ahead to fight the other Oto Jounins and get Sasuke back, Kankuro explained. I'm not sure what else happened after that. Kakashi nodded his head. Though he wasn't sure what Gaara and Kankuro were doing around the area earlier, Kakashi was happy that they were there nonetheless to help Kiba and the others. Help Kiba return back to Konoha while Haku and the rest of us head over to where the others are. A short while later, Kiba and Akamaru's injuries were treated. Kankuro helped Kiba and Akamaru on their trek back to Konoha for further treatment at the hospital. After their departure, Kakashi, Pakun, and the others started on their way to catch up with the other genins. Chapter 52, Used. Far from Nami no Kuni. A golden-brown eagle was flying high in the sky. It flew speedily with precision to its destination. It screeched as it continued its flight through the air, with a small carrying case wrapped around its left leg with the insignia of Uegakuer engraved on it. It was Iwa's fastest messenger bird, and it was imperative that the eagle made it to its destination as soon as possible with the message it was carrying. Back in Nami no Kuni, Ryota and Tsuchiko were still at each other's throats. The Earth-type Kunoichi was surprised that Tsuchiko was able to give her a hard time despite her own skills and abilities. Tsuchiko, using her skills in medic jutsu, managed to do some muscle and tissue damage to parts of Ryota's body and give her a few burns with a few of her lightning-manipulated jutsus. Ryota retaliated by giving her 2 fractured ribs and a series of other injuries. Presently, both females were catching their breaths while staring hard into each other's eyes. "Damn you, Ryota," Tsuchiko cursed while holding onto her injured ribs, "why won't you die?" "I can ask the same of you," Ryota retorted, feeling immense pain travel all around her body. Tsuchiko tried to focus her lightning affinity, but the pain her body was suffering was throwing her concentration off. Anko, in the meantime, who was standing a few feet away from Ryota at her side, was up against the 4 other remaining jounins. Several of the other IWA jounins earlier were devoured alive by the giant snake she summoned before one of the IWA jounins performed a jutsu that launched large boulders into the snake twice, forcing the snake to return to its realm. "Damn you," cursed one of the IWA jounins at Anko, "we'll kill you for what you've done to our comrades." Anko, despite her battered condition and busted lip, gave the jounins a twisted smile, "Try if you can. I'm ready whenever you are." Ryota and Anko were about to fight again when a yellow flash appeared and revealed Naruto standing between the battleground where both they and the IWA nins were. Tsuchiko and her remaining comrades looked on in fear and dread upon seeing that infamous son and successor of the original Yellow Flash. "It's him," one of the IWA jounins said fearfully, "the second Flash of Konoha." Naruto was holding one of his tri-pronged kunaus in his hand. Naruto's hair was a mess and he smelled a bit of smoke. His clothes, jounin vest, and trench coat were dirted up and sustained multiple tears with parts of them stained in his blood. But no one would know if Naruto himself was injured at all, since his healing abilities took care of those problems. He didn't have so much of a scar on his body. "This fight is over," Naruto stated to both sides, turning his attention to the IWA nins. "You've all been thoroughly deceived. Sujiro has been using and misleading all of you the entire time. He led you all into this mission your Tsuchikage never sent you on. In fact, your Kage and villagers don't even know you're here. You lie, son of the Yellow Flash," Tsuchiko spat, futilely trying to hide her fear while showing her hate of Yondaime's living legacy. "Why the hell should we believe a damn thing you say, Konoha trash? Why would I intervene and stop this fight to let you live if what I said was false?" Naruto retorted, making it very clear as he pointed his dimensional weapon at them. The IWA nins took a few steps back away from Naruto, as though the teen was death in human form. The blonde continued, "Your squad leader led you all here without authentic authorization from your Kage just so he could fulfill his own ambitions to fight me. Sujiro didn't give a damn about any of your safety or your lives. He admitted it himself while he was fighting me earlier. He betrayed and sold all of you out to your deaths, leaving your village to deal with the wraths of both Konoha and Suna. And you can thank Otogakuer for instigating this in the first place. And you expect us to believe such words from you?" Tsuchiko sneered, "We have no reason to trust the likes of you." "You must be Tsuchiko-san," Naruto said, "the niece of the current Tsuchikage." "Yes I am," Tsuchiko confirmed. "I take it that Sujiro told you about me." "He did, as a matter of fact," Naruto replied, "and how he used and manipulated you and the others here who came and died here for nothing. I believe he described you guys as being a pack of idiots and your uncle as being a weak fool and a coward." "Shut up," Tsuchiko yelled in contempt, "I won't listen to garbage from you." the son of the man responsible for killing many of our brethren. I am so sick of you people blaming me for something my father did years ago to protect my village, Naruto retorted. It was a time of war back then, and if I recall, it was IWA that started the Third Great Shinobi War with Konoha to begin with. My father did what had to be done to stop the war between our two nations. And make no mistake, I'll do likewise if I have to. The IWA nins said nothing as Naruto went on, and what's more, your uncle wanted neither you nor his people nor ninjas to have anything to do with what Otogakure wanted from him, which was to have him send ninjas like you after me. Your uncle didn't want IWA warring with Konoha again, and he repeatedly refused to listen to Sujiro's insistent request for the mission. Sujiro turned to treason against your uncle and village while deceiving you guys into believing that you all were giving an S-rank mission to come after me. Sujiro did present us with an official document with my uncle's signature and insignia on it, Tsuchiko explained. It was a high-priority S-rank mission and stated that I and with several other jounins were to accompany Sujiro in taking you out. The document though explained that Sujiro was to take you on himself while we dealt with whoever else had accompanied you. And not one of you found that one bit suspicious, Naruto replied in mocking disbelief. I'm more than certain that IWA has a flee on sight order on my head in the bingo books, and my father was the only known ninja to be given a SS class rank in the bingo books, with me coming in second to him. And for many, taking on such a ninja is suicide. Yet you all followed Sujiro like a pack of blind sheep led to the slaughter, foolishly believing it was an S-rank mission from your uncle. Did you even check with your uncle personally to believe you were given such a mission that he himself never approved of? Or if I'm correct, you guys just acted on your hatred for my father and loyalty to IWA without doing a background check first. Tsuchiko thought about what Naruto was saying, and as she did, her anger and embarrassment grew with it. Bastard, Tsuchiko retorted, I always knew Sujiro was an egotistical viper, and yet I still let him bite and use us. And because of that Uegakure is now in serious hot water with Konoha, Naruto stated as a matter of fact. Speaking of Sujiro, Ryota asked, what became of him? He saw the light after I made him see the errors of his ways, Naruto remarked. The light however took him from this world. They didn't need an explanation to clarify that Sujiro was dead, and it only made very clear what the bingo books in IWA said of Naruto. He never lost a fight. I'm giving you all only one chance to surrender and return back to IWA with what I explained to all of you, Naruto said. I'm sure your cage will be hearing from Konoha soon. You're letting them go? Anko asked incredulously. Why don't we just bring them to Konoha for further interrogations? Because I already dealt with the true enemy, and as I said before, the Tsuchikage and Uegakure as a whole had no part in this, and these ninjas here were lied to and fooled into fighting us, Naruto said before turning back to Tsuchiko. Clearly there are those from your nation who are willing to make an enemy out of me. But tell me, who is your real enemy? Is it my dead father, whom you people hate? Is it me? Regardless of fact, I did nothing against your nation to invoke Iwa's hatred of me besides being related to a dead man you people hate. Or is it people you have from your own nation willing to use and sacrifice you all just so they could fight me and say that they fought and killed the son of the late Yellow Flash of Konoha? Tsuchiko growled angrily, not at Naruto, but at herself and her own stupidity in acting alongside Sujiro. How could I have been so stupid, Tsuchiko thought. I'm responsible for leading my own friends and fellow ninjas to their deaths. I knew it was suicide to fight Naruto, and like a fool, I helped Sujiro anyway under the impression that it was an S-rank mission from my uncle. Sujiro betrayed us and still I helped him. And Otogakure was the cause of all this. Naruto saw the look on Tsuchiko's face, the expressions of anger, failure, dishonor, and shame all at once. This was shown in the faces of the other IWA jounins as well. Clearly, they were all thoroughly deceived. I don't wish to continue fighting, Naruto said. I'm calling a truce if you are willing to accept it. I don't want war with your nation any more than your uncle does, Tsuchiko-san. Tsuchiko thought for a moment and wondered if Naruto was speaking the truth. If anything, Konoha could declare war on them for this offense, even though technically IWA and Tsuki no Kuni had nothing to with this. With the Professor, Slug Princess, and Toad Sage alone at Konoha's disposal, IWA was a doomed nation, and Suna backing them up would only be collateral damage. Many would perish, ninja and civilian alike, and it would all be her fault, because of her stupidity. Naruto placed his tri-pronged kunai away and extended his right hand out to Tsuchiko. Do you accept? Naruto asked. Anko and Ryota looked at Naruto and wondered if he was crazy for the stunt he was pulling. Tsuchiko looked at Naruto incredulously and wondered if this was some sort of trap. This Naruto, the son of the man most hated and feared in Iwagakure and Tsuki no Kuni, was offering a ceasefire when he could just kill them instead. I repeat, Naruto said, do you accept to call a truce? Seeing no other option and for the safety of her remaining fellow Jounins, Tsuchiko walked forward and took Naruto's hand with her right hand. Accepted, Tsuchiko said before she looked to the remaining Jounins with her, giving them a look that told them to put away their weapons. Releasing Naruto's hand, Tsuchiko was about to return to her comrades when. One other thing, Naruto said as he reached into his pocket and retrieved 2 small diamonds with seal markings on them. Showing her the diamonds, Naruto said, would you know anything about these 2? Tsuchiko nodded to him. Sujiro had me help him implant the woman and her son into them. Would you happen to know how to release them? Naruto asked. Tsuchiko replied, I can try. Sujiro did allow me to look into a few of his seals for the procedure. Weirdly enough he trusted me with them. Perhaps it was because he didn't think you'd survive to tell about it, Naruto suggested. Tsuchiko sighed but she didn't give a reply as she watched Naruto set the diamonds down to the ground and took 3 steps away. The lightning-type medic Kunoichi stepped over to the 2 diamonds and performed a complex set of hand seals before clasping her hands together. Funjutsu, Kongosuke Ironman no Fujin, Kai, sealing technique, diamond container seal, release, Tsuchiko said and the seal on the diamonds started glowing in a bluish-white glow before the diamonds started glowing completely. A moment later, Inari and Tsunami appeared from out of the diamonds, both of them unconscious but in good shape with no damage or injuries on them. It's done, Tsuchiko said before turned to the IWA Jounins. They nodded to her and took to the trees, taking off from sight and making their way out of Nami no Kuni. Turning back to Naruto, Tsuchiko said, you're not at all the Buge man many in IWA and Tsuki no Kuni make you out to be. But don't think for a minute that it'll change everyone's thoughts of you. Naruto remarked, regardless, understand this about me, I'll take on and kill whoever threatens the safety of my village, friends, and precious people. I'm letting you and your comrades go so you can explain this incident to your uncle. Naruto said nothing further as he watched Tsuchiko turn her attention to Ryota, we will meet again I'm sure. Ryota said nothing as she and the others watched Tsuchiko take off to the trees to catch up with the other Jounins. You're quite the negotiator Yondaime Hokage, Anko remarked. I'm amazed at how you pulled it off. But what if they had tried to ambush you when you were offering that truce? You know how dangerous it is to be too trusting of your enemies. As if on cue, 15 Naruto Kage Bushins dropped their henge and jumped from the trees they were hiding in and surrounded the 5 of them. 10 more burst from out of the ground and joined the circle, each having kunaus or a blade staff in their hands. I wasn't all that trusting Anko-chan, Naruto said. I kept my clones on standby ready to take them out the entire time. Anko nodded in understanding. 2 of the clones went over and cradled Inari and his mother's bodies off the ground. Naruto dispelled the remaining clones and turned to the females with him. Let's head back, Naruto said, Tajuna is waiting for us back at his house. I can treat all of your injuries there. They nodded to him and followed him back to the house. Well done Naruto, Minato said. You truly came a long way. Thanks father, Naruto mentally remarked, happy that the fighting was over, at least for now. By the way, Minato said, why is that Ryota girl hanging around with you? It's a long story, Naruto replied. Well fill me in, Minato said, what things have happened while I was out of the picture? I'll explain later, Naruto replied, that way my explanation won't sound choppy. As the group was walking away, a Venus flytrap-like figure camouflaged in the trees and bushes appeared behind them. He's stronger than expected, the dark half of Zetsu said. He is indeed, the white half agreed, but we can't do anything to him at this time. It's best if we report back. The dark half said nothing more. Zetsu disappeared into the bushes and went on his way. An hour later, Tajuna was sitting in the living with a bottle of sake in his hand. He was partly drunk but sober enough to be aware of his soundings. There was a knock on his door a moment later. Sighing, he got up to answer the door, ready to tell whoever was there that he wasn't in the mood for any company. Upon opening the door, he was greeted by an unexpected company. "Naruto-kun," Tajuna exclaimed happily, seeing that his daughter and grandson were returned safely. "You're all back." "Was there ever a doubt, old man?" Naruto grinned as his clones carrying the unconscious forms of Inari and Tsunami, and Anko, and Ryota entered the house. "They're all right, Tajuna-san," Anko assured. "Yondaime Hokage checked their vitals and found nothing wrong with them. They should be up and running within a few hours." "I'm very happy to hear that," Tajuna happily replied. "Thank you so very much." "You're welcome," Naruto said. "It's what we do." The clones carried the mother and son to their respective rooms and laid them on their beds before puffing out of existence. Naruto then went about healing Anko and Ryota injuries. It was a while, but they were soon fully healed and restored. "Ah," Anko sighed in satisfaction, "that's ever so much better." "Same here," Ryota agreed as she flexed her arms and legs. Naruto was taking in low breaths, feeling the strain on his body finally taking its toll on him. "I'm happy that you both are back up to speed," Naruto said. "The timing couldn't be any better." That was when Naruto completely lost consciousness and collapsed to the floor. Anko, Ryota, and Tajuna hurried over to him. "Is he all right?" Tajuna asked worriedly. Anko examined him and a few moments later. "He's still alive though very weakened," Anko explained. "I guess everything he did today caught up to him. He'll probably be knocked out for the rest of the day until tomorrow." "Come on, let's carry him to the couch," Tajuna suggested as he helped Anko lift Naruto up off the ground and over to the couch. The older man got some sheets and covered him with them. Tajuna then left to check on both Tsunami and Inari, leaving Anko and Ryota to watch over Naruto. Meanwhile at the Valley of the End, Sai wasn't having the best moments of his ninja career. Having to deal with Kabuto placed him on edge on being mostly on the defense, with Sasuke looking for opportunities to take him out whenever he saw an opening. Presently, Sai was low on chakra and sustained a number of painful injuries, some of them internal, from Kabuto. A trickle of seeped down the left end of Sai's mouth as his breathing was heavy. Kabuto, Sasuke, still in his transformed appearance, interjected, "I'll deliver the finishing blow." "Do you truly seek to kill him?" Kabuto said. "He's no longer a real threat to either of us." "He is my teammate and friend," Sasuke said. "It's something that must be done." Sai gave no retort to Sasuke's absurd proclamation of friendship. As Sasuke was preparing his Chidori, Kabuto sensed chakra signatures making their way toward them. This was confirmed when the running waters around them froze into ice. Ice in the form of senbon needles shot out from the frozen river and over to Kabuto. The medic nin hurriedly backflipped several times away before the needles could hit their marks on his vitals. Sasuke however wasn't as fast since his wings were stabbed deeply with multiple ice-made senbon needles. "Damn it," Sasuke growled in pain as Kabuto made his way quickly over to him. "We have company," Kabuto said, "and I don't think things will be in our favor if we don't make our escape now." "There won't be any escape for either of you two," Haku said as she appeared from behind one of the trees. "You both will be brought back, one way or another." Kabuto saw that only Haku was present from where she stood, but he didn't dare assume that she was the only one in the area. "You're not alone, I assume," Kabuto said as he adjusted his glasses. "I'm sure others are with you." "Very perspective, Kabuto," Kakashi said with a kunao to the back of Kabuto's neck. Pakun was standing at Kakashi's left. The medic nin smirked with his hands raised over his head. "Your reputation precedes you, copycat Kakashi," Kabuto said while feeling the cold sharp blade pressed to the back of his neck. Kabuto snarled inwardly. He was just about on toe with Kakashi, but dealing with a kunoichi who could manipulate water and ice was another issue, especially with a large body of river water at her disposal. Clearly he and Sasuke were at a disadvantage. Turning to Sasuke, Kakashi looked upon him in shame. "I'm truly disappointed in you, Sasuke," Kakashi scolded. "I expected much more from you than this. There will be consequences for your actions." Sasuke scowled but gave Kakashi no reply. Haku made a hand seal and was preparing to bound both Kabuto and Sasuke with solid ice. Before she could accomplish this, a giant brown snake suddenly burst forth from the trees from her right. Haku, Pakun, and Kakashi were caught off guard by this surprise attack. Taking the split-second distraction as his opportunity, Kabuto pushed Kakashi away before grabbing Sasuke and running over to where the snake was. Acting fast, Haku made a one-handed seal, causing the ice river the race over to where Kabuto and Sasuke were going. That Kunoichi is going to be a serious problem if we don't leave here soon, Kabuto realized as the ice came at them faster to surround them. The snake however rushed over and blocked the ice, slowing it down as much as it could. The snake though was soon swallowed by the ice before puffing into a large screen, being sent back from where it came. When the smoke cleared, both Sasuke and Kabuto were gone. Rain started falling heavily over the region. They escaped, Kakashi sighed. Can you track them, Pakun? I would try, Pakun said, but this rain makes it impossible for me to do so. Whatever scent that was left was washed away in the rain. Kakashi sighed again before returning to where Sai was. Currently, Haku was treating his injuries as best as she could, but from what she saw, he was definitely going to have to be taken to the hospital soon. 3 Chiryunins arrived on the scene. Any sign of Sasuke and Kabuto? Kakashi asked. No, one of the Chiryunins said, we saw no traces of either of them. Kakashi gave no reply as he looked over at Haku and Sai. Sai-san has several internal injuries and torn muscles, Haku explained. I healed him as far as I could, but I used most of my healing herbs and chakra healing and helping the others back there earlier. He'll need to be taken back to Konoha as soon as possible. Kakashi nodded before giving the Chiryunins instructions to help Sai return back to the village. The Chiryunins complied and did as they were told. As the Chiryunins were leaving with Sai, Kakashi went over to where the giant snake appeared from. He carefully looked around to find anything out of place. Kakashi-san, Haku called out as she hurried over to her squad leader, what is it? That snake that appeared out of nowhere distracted us enough for Kabuto and Sasuke to escape, Kakashi said. Do you suppose Kabuto summoned that snake? Haku asked. I highly doubt that, Kakashi answered. For one thing, he doesn't possess a snake summoning contract like Anko and Naruto as far as I know, and neither of those two is here, not that they would actually attack us on purpose to let Kabuto and Sasuke escape. Plus, Pakun added, I would have smelled and detected that snake long before we arrived here and alerted you guys if we were in for an ambush. So in other words, somebody else summoned that snake moments after we arrived here, Kakashi concluded. There was another ninja who was present here with us. The rain continued pouring down, and as in the case with Kabuto and Sasuke, the rain made it impossible for Pakun to track who the third ninja was. Who else could summon snakes besides Naruto-kun and Anko-san? Haku inquired. Orochimaru, Kakashi said, he was the original holder of the snake contract. But he's dead and no one else that we know of could have summoned that snake. Things aren't adding up. Neither Haku nor Pakun said anything further. Seeing nothing more that could be done, Kakashi turned to the pair, let's return back to Konoha. Maybe we might get more information out of that red-haired Oto ninja. Considering the damages done to that section of the forest from Temari-san's devastating attack, Haku noted, I'm amazed that Oto Kunoichi was able to have survived it. Temari was certain that Kunoichi was crushed under that heap of lumber and debris. Be that as it may, Kakashi shrugged, but considering her brutal injuries, she won't be going anywhere anytime soon. Haku dispelled her Hyouten jutsu over the river and returned it back to normal. After that, the 3 of them made their way back to the others before starting on their way back to Konoha. The following day, early that morning, Naruto's eyes rolled around under his eyelids before his eyelids gradually opened up completely. He looked around and soon remembered where he was. He slowly sat up and rubbed his sore shoulder. Must have slept on it wrong, Naruto muttered to himself. Nii-chan, a young boy shouted as he ran, jumped, and embraced Naruto in a tight embrace, knocking him back onto the couch. I'm so happy that you're alright. I knew you'd come for us. Despite the tight embrace, Naruto smiled and hugged Inari back. Was there ever a doubt? Inari let go of Naruto, allowing the older teen to sit up on the couch. You looked really beaten up when I found you sleeping yesterday, Inari said. My fight with Sujiro was a hard one, Naruto remarked, but when it came to rescuing and protecting you guys, I was prepared to do whatever I had to. Naruto then noticed a faraway look on the younger boy's face. I was weak, Nii-chan, Inari said with a sad tone. Despite the training I'm going through to be a ninja, I was unable to defend Mom, Grandpa, and myself. Sujiro was so strong. I wasn't able to do anything to stop him no matter how hard I tried to fight him. He easily beaten me and touched Mom in wrong places. I wanted to protect Mom but I couldn't do anything because I was tied up. You must be disappointed with me. Naruto saw that this Inari was a lot different than how he was when he first met him. Putting an understanding arm on the boy's shoulder, Naruto encouraged, Inari, believe it or not, you're a lot stronger than many ninjas and people I know. This caused the boy to look at Naruto with widened eyes. Naruto went on, you were prepared to defend those who are precious to you and you selflessly placed their safety ahead of your own. That's what made Kaizo-san strong and I can see his very spirit in you, and no amount of jutsus can ever equate to that. You're on your way in becoming a true ninja. You really think so? Inari asked with a surprised expression. Naruto asserted, I don't think, I know. Nii-chan, Inari said happily as he embraced Naruto again. The older teen chuckled at Inari's antics while ruffling the younger boy's head. Naruto-san, Tsunami greeted as she and her father entered the living room. The woman smiled seeing the scene between her son and Naruto. It was no secret to her that her son considered Naruto as his greatest inspiration besides Kaizo. As she thought about it, Naruto was much like Kaizo, only younger. Tsunami and her father went over to the two younger males by the couch. How are you feeling? Tsunami asked. Much better, Naruto assured, a little rest was all I needed. You were in worser shape when we last saw you, Tajuna said, and your clothes were ruined. I had them taken so they could be repaired. That was when Naruto looked down to see that he was in a pair of dark blue pants and white t-shirt. And I didn't notice this, why, Naruto muttered to himself before turning to Tajuna, thanks for your kindness. I'll dash. You don't have to repay us anything, Tajuna said, you and your friends placed your lives on the line for ours. We really can't thank or repay you guys enough for what you've done for us. Naruto got up from the couch and stood up on his feet. You really got bigger Nii-chan, Inari exclaimed, I thought they were all rumors. Tsunami saw that Naruto was now taller than her and Tajuna, not to mention that he looked more mature than before as a result of the loss of baby fat from his face. Quite a handsome young man you became, Naruto-san, Tsunami complimented. Naruto smiled, thanks. Call it a growth spurt. What happened to cause you to age so rapidly? Tsunami asked curiously. Naruto replied, a medic kinjutsu that was unique only to me. It was meant to heal me but it backfired and aged me instead. I don't plan on resorting that the jutsu again. I warned you back then that there would be possible side effects for your using that huge quantity of my chakra while in the broken condition your body was in, Minato remarked. I wonder who said a parent's touch is the best medicine, Naruto mentally snorted. What? Minato replied after he caught the mockery behind his son's comment. Naruto returned back to reality when he noticed the others staring at him after going silent. Sorry about that, Naruto apologized, kind of spaced out just then. It's okay, Tsunami assured as she walked over and kissed Naruto on the cheek just as Anko and Ryota entered in the room. Surprisingly, both females frowned when they saw the scene, especially when a light blush appeared on Naruto's face. Thank you for rescuing and saving us, Naruto-san, Tsunami thanked, my son was certain that you'd come for us. Turning his eye while keeping his head from turning, the blonde saw Ryota and Anko standing next to each other. Well, Naruto replied, I didn't do it alone. I had help from two strong kunoichis standing over there. Now the two kunoichis decided to join the scene. Yondaime Hokage, Anko smiled, it's great to see you up and running. Naruto-kun, Ryota grinned, nice choice of clothes. Changing your fashion already? No, just having my actual clothes fixed. From what Tajuna told me, they should be fixed hopefully by tomorrow. Actually, Tajuna corrected, they'll be done by the end of the day today. When the tailor learned that they were your clothes, he got to work on them immediately and assured me that he'll be done with them by this evening. He didn't even charge me for the service. Made me feel that I should have brought along the rest of my stuff and say they belonged to you, Naruto-kun. Hey, Tsunami scolded, that wouldn't have been very nice, father. But you have to give an old man credit for trying at least, Tajuna smiled. Tsunami shook her head, anyway, I have breakfast ready for everyone dash. That's great. I'm starving, Naruto said enthusiastically as he hurriedly left the living room, making his way to the kitchen. Inari laughed and followed, "Hey, wait for me, Nii-chan." Tsunami giggled at the scene, happy to see that her son was happy and full of life again. "My son truly admires and adores you, Naruto-san," Tsunami thought to herself, "you're like the second Kaizokan in our lives." She and the others followed Inari and Naruto into the kitchen. Looking at Naruto from behind, Tsunami visualized Kaizo's form projected over Naruto as he interacted and laughed with her son. She smiled brightly at the scene as everyone got ready to eat their breakfast. Later that day, Naruto spent the day with Inari, who practically followed Naruto around like a second shadow. While they were there, Anko and Ryota decided to check around to see what Nami no Kuni had to offer. They were surprised at how industrious the country became within nearly 4 months after the bridge's completion. New vacation resorts, hotels and stores were being constructed, and from the way it looked, it was promising for good business in the future. Inari, while hanging with Naruto, saw the amount of females that came and followed them around, much to Anko and Ryota's annoyance. Naruto, used to receiving that kind of attention from the opposite sex, had to keep both kunoichis from doing anything drastic to scare the girls away. The kunoichis reluctantly complied, on the condition that he agreed with their request to make it up to them based on what they wanted from him. Later, Naruto saw and entered the new training school that Inari was attending and training it to become a shinobi. The blonde was surprised that a number of youths were already there training with the ninjas that moved in and took residence as citizens of Nami no Kuni. "A promising bunch those children are," Minato noted. "They have potential," Naruto admitted, "and judging from the ninjas' skills, I'd say that they're at least B-class Jounin level." After everyone noticed Naruto's presence, they all stopped what they were doing and greeted the country's proclaimed hero. Naruto was bombarded with a series of questions about his skills and power and was asked a few times if he'd be willing to show them a couple of his jutsus. He showed them Kage Bushin and a few tricks with wind manipulations, but nothing further. He was also questioned by the Jounins and his reasons for being in the country. Naruto told them the whole story and how he was able to beat Sujiro and stop his former comrades whom he used and betrayed. Naruto was careful not to mention that the 2 additional ninjas he fought with Sujiro were in the form of Inari and Tsunami. "You're really powerful, Naruto-sama," one girl said. "I can't believe you took on Sujiro and those 3 ninjas all by yourself," one boy remarked. "Were you scared?" "I'm scared every time I go on a dangerous mission," Naruto said, causing the rest of the class except Inari to look back at him in disbelief. "You, scared?" another girl asked. "Don't believe it." "Believe it," Naruto said. /n, no, don't think for a minute that I'm turning Naruto into the one from the English dubbed version. This is just conversion. Just because Nii-chan gets scared doesn't mean that he can't control his fear enough to help those he cares about, Inari interjected. "Naruto Nii-chan taught me not to let fear of the enemy prevent me from protecting what's precious to me. That's why I train to become stronger, so I can protect all of my family and friends." "Very well said, Inari," one of the Jounin senseis commended. "Clearly Naruto-san has been a big influence in your life. He's this country's greatest inspiration and I want to become just as strong as him," Inari replied zealously. "Quite the goal you have, Inari," Naruto thought. "Who knows, maybe you might surprise me and surpass my expectations of you." "I'm sure you will." After another half hour, Naruto left the school with Inari and went about hanging out together for the rest of the day. Back at the house, Ryota at the beach watching the waves crash on shore before precipitating back to the sea again and repeating the pattern. "Ryota," Anko called to her as she approached her. "Anko," Ryota greeted, "was there something the matter?" "No," Anko said as she stood to face the ocean, "I just wanted to say that after hearing what you said the other day, it's nice to know that I have someone who understands my secret pain." "What do you mean?" Going straight to the point, Anko related, "I understand what it's like to be betrayed by a sensei you once loved and held in high regards. What your sensei did to you was exactly what Orochimaru did to me." Ryota looked at Anko surprisingly. "You were the apprentice of the snake Sunin. I should have known, especially after seeing that large snake you summoned the other day. What happened between you and Orochimaru?" "I must admit that before I met Yondaime Hokage," Anko said, "I had a hard time telling anyone about my past until we became friends. Anko and Ryota spent the next 2 hours relating to each other about their past lives and experiences. They found that they had much more in common than they counted on. Ryota was happy to find that besides Haku, she found that Anko was another person who could empathize with her, and likewise Anko found that with Ryota. Naruto and Inari returned to find the two females conversing together while coming back to the house. Probably having one of their girl talks, Naruto figured as he continued on his way with Inari. A moment later, Tsunami came out and greeted the two males. "Inari, Naruto-san," Tsunami smiled, "how was your hangout?" "Great, Mom," Inari exclaimed happily. "Inari gave me a tour around to see the improvements around town," Naruto explained. "Nami no Kuni truly came a long way from how I last saw it. The bridge opened up to us new futures and possibilities," Tsunami said. "It was only right that the bridge was named after you in your honor." "Something I wasn't honestly expecting," Naruto admitted while scratching the back of his head. "Come on Nii-chan," Inari said, pulling on Naruto's arm. "You promised to show and teach me some taijutsus and several other stuff." Inari ran/dragged Naruto into the forest, leaving Tsunami watching their disappearing forms. While looking at them, she once again pictured Kaizo's form over Naruto. "I think he's a little too young for you, my dear daughter," Tajuna teased mischievously. Tsunami smacked her father across the shoulder, clearly not amused with his implication. "Knock it off, father," Tsunami retorted as she turned and retreated back into the house to prepare dinner for everyone. 2 days later, Naruto, dressed in his fully restored Jounin clothes, gear, and trench coat, Anko and Ryota were standing by the Great Naruto Bridge with Inari, Tsunami, and Tajuna. The family came to see Naruto and the others off before they began their journey back to the home village. "Can't you stay a little longer, Nii-chan?" Inari asked with pleading eyes. "As much as I'd like to," Naruto said, "my new responsibilities in Konoha doesn't permit me and the others here to stay any longer than our mission duration. However, when you and your family get the time to, you're more than welcome to visit and spend the night at my estate." Inari went over and hugged Naruto tightly. "I love you, Nii-chan, you're precious to me. You know that, right?" "Sure I do," Naruto smiled, though a bit embarrassed by Inari's display of affections. Tsunami and Tajuna giggled at the scene. "When you see Kakashi, his team, and Haku," Tajuna said, "please give them our regards, along with the payment I promised." "Consider it taken care of," Naruto nodded before Inari let him go from his embrace. "Remember to study and practice everything I taught you and everything your senseis will teach you. And practice and review that taijutsu scroll I left with you. Understand?" Inari nodded. Tsunami went over and kissed Naruto's cheek again. "Thanks again, Naruto-san. Feel free to visit whenever you have the time to. Hopefully next time it won't involve dangerous ninjas and rescues." Naruto grinned. "Not that I wouldn't do them again." Tsunami smiled and simply agreed. Turning to the two kunoichis, Naruto said, "Well, it's time for us to get going." The two females nodded before saying their goodbyes to Inari and his family. The trio waved and said their final goodbyes to the ninjas as they ran across the bridge and started on their way back to Konoha. Meanwhile in Konoha. At Konoha Hospital, the genins were in their recovery rooms recuperating from their failed retrieval mission. Chuji and Niji were in ICU, having suffered the most injuries, many of them severe. Fortunately they and the others were said to make a fully recovery in a matter of days. Sakura was in Sai's room looking after him. Though they didn't get along, he was still her teammate and Sakura appreciated that Sai made the attempt to get Sasuke back. She heard about the results of the mission from Kakashi and the battle that took place between Sai, Sasuke, and Kabuto. Sai surviving a double-team attack from Sasuke and Kabuto alone was quite the feat, the other genins thought. But all in all, the mission was nearly a success had it not been for the intervention of an unknown party that ambushed Kakashi and Haku in the forest in the Valley of the End. This was brought to Sandaime, Tsunade and Jiraiya's attention, which troubled the three of them. Orochimaru was gone and no other person besides Naruto and Anko could summon snakes. Jiraiya assured them that along with finding more information on the Akatsuki, he'd have his spy network look into what Kakashi and Haku reported and see what turns up. Along with this, Tsunade had received the decrypted message sent to her from the Tsuchikage. In the letter, the Tsuchikage explained that Sujiro acted on his own without authorization, taking several of his jounins, his niece included, on a mission against Naruto that he never authorized, based on a mission request that Otogakuer wanted his nation to fulfill, though it was refused. Sujiro, the Tsuchikage explained, was marked in the bingo books as an AS-class missing nin wanted for treason and instigating war. Tsunade, after reading the message, wrote, signed and stamped a reply message to the Tsuchikage. In it, she explained that because Sujiro was marked as a missing nin after the incident occurred while taking several other official IWA jounins with him who willingly went along with the plot in kidnapping Nami no Kuni civilians under Konoha's protection and using them as bait to draw her son and 2 other Konoha jounins with him out for an ambush, IWA would still have to make reparations for the offense against Konoha and the civilian family of Nami no Kuni. The message was sent to IWA with the same messenger eagle. Meanwhile, Tewa, though recuperating from her severe injuries, was being held and watched by 24-hour Umbu guard. Ibiki was assigned to interrogate her later and see what information he could squeeze out of her about Otogakuer, its location, the number of Oto nins, Oto's conspiracy involving IWA and the unknown ninja who ambushed Kakashi and Haku. Later that night, Naruto and his team set up camp for the night and planned on resuming early the next morning. Naruto, standing outside looking at the night sky while on guard duty, felt bothered by something he couldn't quite understand. This wasn't the first time Otogakuer coaxed a nation into warring against Konoha, Naruto contemplated. This was proven in the case with Suna. That nation was in a desperate military and financial crisis and Orochimaru took advantage of that in hopes of crushing Konoha and getting Sasuke on top of that. Now Otogakuer sought to coax IWA into warring against Konoha, but surprisingly IWA as a whole refused, though there were a few who thought otherwise. Otogakuer must have known that if IWA were to seek to war with Konoha again, they'd have lost. What was Otogakuer seeking to gain by triggering another war between IWA and Konoha, knowing that IWA would lose regardless? Who would benefit from it? What are you contemplating? Anko asked as she walked over to him without wearing her trench coat and leg guards. Naruto turned to her and said, about everything that happened up to this point. Somehow, I think there's more to this than we know. Anko said nothing as she just stood next to him. A moment later, she said, if it's about Otogakuer, they were clearly trying to achieve something, whatever that was, while letting IWA take the fall for it. And considering the bitter history between Konoha and IWA, Iwagakuer makes a perfect scapegoat. Naruto thought for a moment before. You can think about all that later, Anko suggested as she stretched her arms out. I'm going to sleep now, Yondaime Hokage. Anko turned and walked back to the tent, swinging her waist and hips back and forth in a provocative fashion. Naruto frowned at how his former sensei was teasing him. She then stopped walking while keeping her back facing the blonde. Grabbing the left and right ends of her miniskirt, she raised it enough to give the blonde a view of half her rear. Feel free to join me if you want, Anko enticed as she looked at Naruto with a lustful smile, I can sure use your warmth. Grinning at the look on his face, Anko disappeared into the tent with Ryota already fast asleep. Troublesome woman, Naruto muttered in irritation while forcing the crimson blush off his face and keeping his arousal at bay. Naruto, Minato said with a voice wanting an immediate explanation, I think now would be as good of time to start talking and telling me everything that happened while I was gone. And while you're doing that, you can tell me about this taboo affair with your sensei. There's nothing taboo about it, Kyuubi snickered, it's all part of the natural cycle. The ripened vixen was clearly releasing pheromones while showing signs to the alpha male that she's ready to mate and bear kits for him. To be honest, I couldn't think of a more appropriate mating location than out here in the open forest. Naruto groaned audibly while hearing the two voices in his head and the trouble Anko caused him. For Naruto, this was going to be a long night. Chapter 53, Facing Reality. 5 days later, in Konoha. Naruto, Anko, and Ryota were approaching Konoha's main gates. As they were doing so, they were greeted by Kotetsu and his friend Izumo. Naruto-san, Kotetsu greeted, it's great to see you back and the others back. Tsunade-sama told us to tell you to report to her office immediately for a briefing. Naruto nodded as the two females followed him close by. Damn it, Anko complained, I was hoping to get some dangos before seeing Tsunade-sama. Forget about it for now, Naruto said, you'll just have to deal with it until we get this briefing done and over with. Fine, Anko retorted, but you're buying. No, I don't think so, Naruto remarked. You still owe us that favor, Ryota interjected. I already paid it, Naruto said. I took up the nightly guard duties during the return trip back to Konoha since you both weren't willing to do them and decided to get longer sleep instead. Plus, I had to put up with Anko-chan repeatedly teasing me with innuendos and sensual gestures on top of that. Therefore, I don't owe either of you a damn thing. Both females snorted at Naruto, who clearly ignored them. During the return trip, Anko, during the nightly teasing session, was hoping that Naruto would have caved in and decide to have some fun with her. She was surprised at how strong a will he had in not succumbing to his hormones and her sensual teases. While on his way to the Hokage Tower, Minato was able to see how many of the citizens were greeting Naruto as Namikaze-sama, Naruto-sama and son of Yondaime. By this time Minato was already aware that everyone knew that Naruto was his son. He was however rather upset that Kushina wasn't explained to the villagers. It was headache for Naruto to deal with as he explained to Minato about Tsunade's near mental and emotional breakdown after his death and why Sarutobi reluctantly withheld explaining Naruto's connection with Kushina as much as it pained the old man to do so. For Naruto, it was hard for him also, though Kushina gave birth to him. However, Tsunade raised and trained him as her own son all his life after Kushina's tragic death. What also got Minato's attention was when Naruto explained to him about the issues involving Hinata, Ino, Temari, Ryota, and Anko. Kyuubi spent much of his time harassing Naruto about breeding of kits endowed with chakra from the most feared of the Baijos. It was a while before Naruto was able to close out Kyuubi's voice. It's clear that much has changed since my absence, Minato said while watching the scene through Naruto's eyes. You've truly came a long way to get where you are now. Perhaps, Naruto replied, but I'm still a long way from reaching the rest of my goals. Naruto looked to see Yojao walking to the hospital with some items in her hands. He was curious as to why the Ambu-kunoichi was heading there and wondered whom was she visiting. In Uegakure. The Tsuchikage was in his office contemplating on everything his niece had explained to him. Though happy about her survival, however, he was disappointed in her poor judgment and earlier actions which led to the deaths of 6 of their jounins. Tsuchiko said she was willing to accept full responsibility and whatever punishment that was believed to be deserving for her disgrace. Her uncle knew that she and the others were completely deceived by the traitorous jounin, and presently he didn't know what kind of reprimanding to deal out to them. It surprised the Tsuchikage to no end, however, that the son of the Yellow Flash spared their lives and allowed them to return back alive in spite of the hatred Iwa has for the Namikaze name. He never would have thought that the son of their most hated enemy would have shown them mercy despite the fact that they were attempting to bring about his defeat and the deaths of his comrades. Honestly, he would have believed the news to be preposterous had his own niece not personally give him the full detailed report about everything that happened with the surviving jounins as eyewitnesses to the event. Though the other jounins didn't say it, but they started looking at Naruto differently from how he was always portrayed by their fellow Iwanins because of whose son he was. The families and friends of the jounins killed mourned their loss, and before talk of blaming Naruto could take root, it was thoroughly explained that their deaths resulted from the actions of a traitor who tried to instigate war with Konoha and Suna. They explained that Naruto killed the traitor while allowing them to return back without incident, not wanting to kill them or trigger another war with Iwa. The families and many of the citizens in the beginning found their story ridiculous and thought it was some kind of cover-up for what really happened. The Tsuchikage himself had to make it very clear that Sujiro was a traitor and that he sold them out not to Konoha but to Otagakure. This led to mixed feelings rising up among the citizens concerning Sujiro and Naruto. But that wasn't all that the Tsuchikage had to deal with. What was also on his mind was the reparations Konoha was going to demand from Iwa because of their jounin's actions against Naruto and Tajuna's family. He didn't know how much this was going to cost the village, but seeing the degree of the offense he knew that the reparations would indeed be highly based on whatever terms Konoha decides to agree to. At the Hokage Tower, Naruto, Anko, and Ryota were in Tsunade's office with Sarutobi and Shizune present. The elite jounin had reported everything to Tsunade, who had a serious look on her face, especially after Naruto explained the new viral medic ninjutsu he secretly created and used on Sujiro. After taking a moment to contemplate on everything her son told her, She then explained what the Tsuchikage had explained to her through a messenger eagle and how she responded by telling him that IWA would be responsible for making reparations to both Konoha and Tajuna's family for the offenses their still loyal Jounins have caused. "Have you all decided what measures the reparations will be?" Naruto asked. "Not yet," Tsunade sighed, "but from what the Tsuchikage said in his letter, he doesn't want to instigate another war with us." "Smart man," Anko remarked. Ignoring her sarcasm, Tsunade continued, "I thought about having IWA pay 120 million ryos as compensation, with 20 million out of it going to Tajuna and his family." "Quite a hefty fine," Ryota noted. "Do you think that Tsuchikage will agree to pay such a large sum of money out of Uegaku's treasury? Knowing him, he'll try to negotiate in having the reparations being more reasonable." It was his lack of scrutiny in the ranks among his ninjas that led to his village being in the mess it got itself into, Sarutobi interjected. His and the mistakes of his ninjas placed their entire village at fault and they must take full responsibility for it. This isn't a mistake that can be taken lightly or brushed under the rug. Hypothetically speaking, if Naruto was killed in that battle with Sujiro, Konoha, in its fury, would have not only rose up and declared war but every ninja in Konoha of all ranks would have been more than willing to seek Uegaku's complete destruction as vengeance for killing the last Namikaze and heir of the Senju clan. Not only that, Tsunade cut in, they would have most likely sought your death as well, Ryota-san. "What?" Ryota burst in surprise, "why would they after I clearly defected from IWA to Konoha?" "Because of your origins," Tsunade pointed out, "and the fact that you accompanied my son to Nami no Kuni might have triggered the false assumption that you helped lure Naruto and Anko into an ambush with your former comrades. You would have been used as the most believable scapegoat for them to vent that bloodthirst on, no matter how much you pleaded otherwise." Ryota hated what Tsunade said, but she knew it was true, especially since not everyone in Konoha still trust her. "Naruto," Tsunade said seriously, "I want a detailed report about the creation of your Iyusa Henshitsu no Jutsu, healing deterioration technique, on my desk first thing by tomorrow morning." "You don't have to wait that long," Naruto replied as he reached into his trench coat and retrieved a scroll from it. He gave it to his mother, who took it from him and found the scroll to have a seal of some sort on it. "There's a blood seal on it," Naruto said, "for security purposes, only your and my blood can open it. It's too dangerous of a medic ninjutsu to be trusted to just anyone. I thought we reprimanded you for creating kinjutsus that are based on gambles with your life," Tsunade scolded. Frowning, Naruto replied, "I gave this viral medic jutsu a lot of forethought in preparation. And that scroll will go into details about its history and how I created it." Shizune couldn't help but have a feeling of disapproval of her little brother using the medic knowledge and experience he gained from both her and Tsunade to create viruses. Part of her felt it went against the nature of why they became medic nins in the first place. "I'll look into the scroll later and discuss the reparations IWA will have to make at another time," Tsunade said. "There's another matter I have to discuss with you three to bring you up to date with what happened while you all were away." "We're listening," Naruto replied before Tsunade went into details to explain Sasuke's desertion and the incident involving Otogakuer and the Sound Four. Neither of the three interrupted as the Godame briefed them on all that took place. It wasn't long until she was done with her explanation. Naruto was deep in thought as he mediated on Tsunade's words and everything that happened to him. What irked him and Anko, however, was when Tsunade explained to them that an unknown ninja summoned a giant snake to distract Kakashi and Haku, giving Kabuto and Sasuke time to escape. "Anko-chan," Naruto asked, "do you know of anyone else besides Orochimaru and ourselves that have a contract with snakes?" "None that I know of," Anko said. "That wasn't a contract Orochimaru readily shared with anyone, and back then, he certainly didn't make it easy for me to acquire it either. Perhaps he allowed someone else to sign it without our knowing of it. That's my best guess at it anyway." Thinking about everything being said to him thus far, the blonde came to make an acknowledgement of something. It all makes sense now, Naruto realized. Otogakuer's prime objective was to get Sasuke. The skirmish they instigated through IWA involving Nami no Kuni wasn't a trap, it was a decoy to lure me away from Konoha. Sarutobi, while taking a puff of his pipe, acknowledged, "It's clear that they believed you would have been the greatest obstacle in their plans to get Sasuke. They needed you as far away from Konoha as possible, and what better way to bait you than by targeting people you seek to protect. Despite the fact you knew this was a setup of some type, they knew you wouldn't gamble with the lives of Inari and Tsunami. They used your characteristics against you and manipulated ninjas from IWA to carry it out. With you out of the way and kept occupied, Shizun spoke up for the first time since the meeting, and all of the other Jounins away on missions. It made it easier for Oto to send their ninjas to acquire Sasuke. One would have assumed that Naruto would have burst out in outrage by what he was hearing. But instead he was calm and had self-control while he calculated everything he was listening to. With all that happened to Sasuke and type of life he lived while here in the village, Naruto remarked, I honestly can't say I'm surprised that he deserted Konoha for Oto. Based on my experience with him and from what Kaa-chan's testimony was with regards to Sai's battle with Sasuke, it's evident that Sasuke's grudge and resentment for Konoha went deeper than even I expected. He couldn't stand how he wasn't as strong as I am and how the village valued me more than him. He believed the name Uchiha was forsaken and looked down on by everyone while the names Senju and Namikaze were feared and respected. With all this seated in his heart and his drive to kill Itachi, manipulating him to desert Konoha wouldn't have been all that hard. It's a pity really. If his goals were to have been more constructive, I believe he'd have made a new and better name for the revived Uchiha clan. I'd have helped him get stronger if he wasn't so selfish, ambitious, and envious. Sighed, such a waste. There was a brief moment of silence in the office. Before another word was said, the door opened revealing Sakura entering. Tsunade-sama, Sakura started before stopping to realize who else were in the room. Naruto-senpai, you returned. Now Naruto, Ryota, and Anko raised their eyebrows on hearing how Sakura addressed the elite Jounin. Senpai, Naruto repeated. Tsunade elaborated, I took her up as my new apprentice after she came in and asked for personal training from me to become a medic nin. Did she now? Naruto remarked, what brought about this? She wanted to become more useful to the village than she was before, she explained. Shizun replied, we're to train her in becoming a medic nin like ourselves, Naruto-kun. Who's we? Naruto remarked, I didn't agree to being one of her teachers. True, Tsunade interjected, however, you're her senior and higher ranked medic ninja. So there'll be a few occasions when you'll supervise her training, along with the training of the 3 other youths you took up as your apprentices. Turning to Sakura, Naruto asked, are you serious about becoming a medic nin? Yes, Naruto-senpai, Sakura answered, I'm taking this very serious. I don't intend to give up, no matter how hard it gets. Naruto merely nodded, but before he could say another word. Was your mission to Nami no Kuni a success? Sakura asked anxiously, are Inari and the others all right? Yes. Both Inari and his family are safe and the culprit was dealt with accordingly, Naruto assured. The female medic in training sighed in relief. Though she was sure of Naruto's abilities, she couldn't help but worry for Inari and his family. With the threat taken care of, Sakura felt she rather relieved. Speaking of which, Naruto remembered before turning to Tsunade again, here's the full payment for the previous mission Kakashi Aizen, his team, and I went on. Naruto pulled out the pouch of money from his coat and gave it to his mother. She took it from him and set it down on her desk, I'll see that the payment is made out later. I can wait, Naruto replied before changing the subject, by the way, is that Oto Kunoichi conscious yet? No, Tsunade answered, she hasn't regained consciousness yet. When she does, Naruto said, I wish to interrogate her myself. Naruto, Tsunade replied, Ibiki is assigned for that. I know, Naruto said, but I believe I can get answers out of her faster. Tsunade knew that Anko trained Naruto in interrogation techniques. She thought about refusing Naruto's request but consented, very well. I'll give you one chance. But if you fail, Ibiki will be given the task again and you won't be allowed to interfere. Understand? One chance is all I need, Naruto replied as he turned and walked towards the door, and I'll do it my way. Sakura turned to the blonde elite Jounin and asked, so you heard about Sasuke-kun's desertion? Yes, Naruto answered, a sad waste really. Senpai, Sakura said a bit hesitantly, I tried to convince and talk him out of leaving but I failed miserably. He was so bent on becoming stronger and he felt he could get what he needs from Oto. I know both you and Sasuke-kun didn't have that great of history with each other but dash. Sakura, Naruto cut in, where are you getting at? Get to the point. Taking a breath, she asked, do you think there's a chance we can get Sasuke-kun back? Naruto looked at Sakura awkwardly. Excuse me. Sasuke-kun must have been manipulated by those Otonins, I'm sure of it, Sakura expressed. That night when I last saw him, he wasn't himself, and I'm sure the curse seal on him had something to do with his unusual behavior. From what I've seen of Sasuke, Ryota remarked, if his behavior haven't been normal up to his disappearance, I haven't noticed. Anko snickered at Ryota's remark, only to receive a hot glare from the pink-haired genin. Neither of the female jounins was intimidated at the least. You want me to help you bring him back, Naruto interpreted. Sakura saw that Naruto figured her out. Sai did what he could to bring him back, but Kabuto ambushed Sai and escaped, taking Sasuke-kun with him. I know it's a lot I'm asking, but Sasuke-kun's place is in Konoha with us, and I admit that Sasuke-kun, Sai and myself haven't always been on good terms with each other, but Sai did say that Sasuke-kun called him a really good friend. Naruto said nothing as he stood there and listened. If it's possible, senpai, Sakura requested, would you be willing to help both Sai and myself bring Sasuke-kun back to Konoha? You're one of the village's strongest ninjas, and I'm sure with your help we can get Sasuke-kun from Kabuto. The elite jounin closed his eyes to evaluate the entire situation and everything he was told from both Tsunade and now Sakura. Everyone else in the room remained silent as they waited for Naruto's answer. After another moment, the blonde opened his eyes and looked directly at the pink-haired genin as he gave his reply. Sasuke became a missing nin willingly, and using the curse seal as an excuse does not satisfy any reason for me to overlook it, Naruto replied. He jeopardized the lives of your fellow genins, teammate, and 2 Chiryunins, one of them my fiancé, who were sent after him only to be attacked by Oto jounins sent to retrieve him. He attacked and tried to kill your own teammate, and from I was told, Sasuke double-teamed Sai with Kabuto and might have killed Sai had it not been for Kakashi Naizen and Haku-san's intervention. I'm sorry, but I cannot and will not overlook Sasuke's crimes against Konoha for whatever personal reasons or attachments you or anyone else has for him. He severed whatever bonds you believed to have had with him the moment he turned traitor. He gave no consideration to your feelings or those of his comrades. The only consideration he had was for his own selfish ambitions. Everyone in the office stayed quiet as they listened and watched the scene between Naruto and Sakura play out. One other thing, Sakura, Naruto added, Kakashi Naizen told me that he once told you guys that those who abandoned their mission are trash, but those who betray their comrades are worse than trash. Sasuke didn't take his sensei's words to heart, and he didn't hesitate to betray us for power and revenge the first chance he got. And based on your own sensei's words, Sasuke is worse than trash. Sakura cringed from Naruto's harsh logic and reasoning. She looked like she was on the verge of tears on seeing how remorselessly Naruto was verbally tearing Sasuke apart. If I do bring him back alive, Sakura, Naruto made clear, trust that Sasuke will be made to answer for his crimes. I will not make the same mistake the 2 ninjas before me whom I told you and the others about made with regards to Orochimaru. Sarutobi unconsciously lowered his head as though he was trying to hide his shame for the mistake he and Jiraiya made years ago. Tsunade saw this, but said nothing. Turning to his mother, Naruto said, if there's nothing else, I'll retire for the afternoon and visit the other genins. Please notify me when that Oto Kunoichi regains consciousness. Do you really think you can get answers out of her? Sakura asked timidly after hearing and seeing Naruto's reaction to her request. Coldly, Naruto turned to face her and replied, I have ways of making ninjas like her feel utterly useless. Before I'm through she will break down on her knees, and beg me for her death. Sakura's complexion turned pale as an arctic chill ran down her back. Naruto said nothing further as he exited the office, closing the door behind him. He wasn't joking when he made that proclamation. Sakura, Ryota said, I've seen his methods, and from what happened to the last enemy Kunoichi who crossed him, well, let's just say that she was never the same again. Sakura gulped on hearing Ryota's words, though a part of the pink-haired genin wondered if the former Iwa jounin was referring to herself in the third person, since both her and Naruto were enemies at one time. Meanwhile, Naruto left the Hokage Tower and made his way over to the hospital to see how the other genins were doing. It wasn't long until he reached his destination. While making his way to where he was going, he saw Yojao making her way down the hallway from the opposite direction. She was coming from seeing how Hayate was doing. The special jounin was recuperating after a successful surgery. Hayate's health had improved after Tsunade's treatment of it. Hayate was suffering from a rare lung disease though not contagious. Tsunade found it amazing that Hayate was unable to live so long with such a sickness though he was taking earlier medical treatment for it. Luckily the earlier treatments prevented it from becoming terminal, which would have in effect shortened his life. The procedure in curing Hayate's condition was risky since both lungs were affected and chances of his survival were very slim. Yojao was reluctant about Hayate taking the procedure at first but later went along with it after Hayate's insistence on trusting in Tsunade's medical skills. Needless to say, the Umbu Kunoichi was happy that Hayate would make a full recovery with improved health to boot. Naruto stopped by the recuperation room to find Shino, Lee, Tenten, Hinata and Ino in the room with Niji, Choji and Kiba. "Naruto-kun," Hinata said happily as she rose off her seat and hurried over to him with Ino following close by. Naruto embraced and kissed her as she happily accepted and returned the kiss. Letting go of the lavender-haired girl, the blonde elite Jounin turned to see Ino waiting her turn before she grabbed and kissed him hotly. After a moment, the girl released Naruto and exclaimed, "Damn! I've wanted to do that for days. We missed you." "I missed you all too," Naruto smiled, "a lot has happened while I was away. Kaa-chan told me about Sasuke's defection to Oto." "Yeah," Ino said, "Sakura didn't take it rather well." "Betrayal by anyone is never taken in rather well," Naruto remarked. "I'll worry about Sasuke later. Right now I have comrades and friends to see." After exchanging greetings, Naruto listened to Niji, Choji, Kiba and Lee as they took turns relating their encounter with the Oto Jounins that fought. Lee's story with Kimimaro intrigued the blonde ninja since the bone user came very close to killing both Gaara and Lee simultaneously before his body broke and shut down, thus ending his life. After another 15 minutes, Naruto left the room and went to see Sai, who was in another room. Upon arriving, Naruto found the teen fully awake and painting a portrait of some kind while on his recovery bed. The pale-skinned genin turned to the blonde and gave him one of his fake smiles. "Naruto-kun," Sai greeted, "you've returned. Only to find you and the others are in the hospital after a failed retrieval mission," Naruto remarked before walking over to his bed and standing by it from the right. "I know Sasuke isn't as strong as you, and based on the reports, you gave that rogue genin quite the thrashing. Mind giving me a verbal account from your own mouth about your battle with him before you were ambushed by Kabuto? I would also like to know more about that verbal dispute you had with Sasuke during your battle with him at the Valley of the End." "The written report wasn't enough?" Sai asked. Naruto replied, "Sakura told me that Sasuke called you his friend right before he tried to kill you, and she boldly sought my help to get that renegade back. Did you promise her to help get Sasuke back?" "No," Naruto stated sharply, "but I assured her that should I be assigned to retrieve Sasuke that he'll get no special treatment from me or anyone else. I made it very clear to her that I will not overlook his crimes just because of what clan he's from or because of whatever foolish emotional attachments she has for him. He will be treated and dealt with as a traitor and criminal, last Uchiha or not." Sai gave Naruto no argument as he simply agreed with the higher-ranked ninja. Putting his painting brush and portrait down on the table, Sai went on to explain the event from his point of view. Back at Hokage Tower, Sarutobi was in the study office going over some scrolls to calm his nerves. 15 minutes after Naruto left the tower, Danzo, Koharu, and Homura had gotten on Sarutobi's nerves concerning Sasuke's desertion for Otagakure. Danzo argued that they should have had Sasuke executed long ago that night with the rest of the traitorous Uchiha clan that were slaughtered. Sarutobi had to remind them of the threat Itachi made if Sasuke was harmed by either of them. That served to calm and quiet Danzo, if only by so much. Goading Itachi to reveal secrets about Konoha to hostile nations wouldn't fare well for the village. Sarutobi sighed as he thought about the Senju and the Uchiha clans. Very few people knew the true story about both clans. Though Sai worked under Danzo, even he wasn't fully aware of the real story, and some of what he learned wasn't completely accurate. And in some levels, the same applied likewise for Naruto and everyone else. Reminiscing about the past, Sarutobi, as a youth, recalled Madara's strong distrust of Senju Hashirama, the then Senju clan leader who later became the Yondaime Hokage. He adamantly argued that the Senjus would bring about the Uchiha's undoing. But the Uchihas back then disregarded Madara's words, looking at him as a greedy opportunist who sought to worsen the already bad blood problems between them and the Senjus. The Uchihas grew to despise Madara and got fed up with his continuous outright talks against the Hokage and Senjus. Madara's desertion of Konoha and later attack against Konoha and Shodai using Kyuubi only made matters worse for the Uchiha clan. Though Madara lost, the Senjus and village council became all the more suspicious and wary of the Uchihas as a result of Madara's treasonous actions. To keep the other Uchihas from following Madara's example, the Yondaime Hokage, Senju Tobirama, after Shodai stepped down as Hokage and gave the position to his younger brother, made the Uchihas in charge of the Konoha military police force. Though it was a sign of good faith, however, even that was a ploy to make keeping an eye on the Uchihas a lot easier since they were all being grouped together while being kept out of government affairs. Tensions and grudges from the Uchihas only grew as a result, and Sarutobi, during his reign as Yondaime Hokage, tried to resolve and amend matters as best he could. But something happened during the reign of the Yondaime that sealed the Uchiha clan's fate. Kyuubi's awakening and wreaking havoc before his arrival to Konoha. Danzo, Homura, and Koharu suspected that the Uchihas were behind this, but Sarutobi argued otherwise and refused to have this reach Yondaime's ears since the young Hokage had enough problems of his own while dealing with trying to find ways of defeating the fox and dealing with complications of his wife's well-being and pregnancy. 2 days after Kyuubi's mysterious disappearance during its attack on Konoha and Yondaime's sealing into Naruto, Uchiha Fugaku, the then Uchiha clan leader, insisted that he be given legal custody over Yondaime's son and sole surviving heir. Fugaku said that he was even willing to have Naruto marry into the Uchiha clan and see to it that he was treated and looked at as an Uchiha. But as in the case with Hayashi, Yondaime had to refuse Fugaku's request regardless of how good-natured it was. Homura, Koharu, and Danzo believed that the Uchihas were seeking to marry Naruto into their clan so they could not only have complete access to all of Minato and the Namikaze clan's secrets, but also control Naruto himself with Yondaime's power and knowledge infusing into Naruto. The three of them feared that having him loyal and raised by the Uchihas would have made that clan an unstoppable force, and especially if that clan were to rebel. Sarutobi however argued that Naruto in any clan would make that clan an unstoppable force if they chose to rebel, and that Naruto himself needed someone to teach him to be loyal to the village and people and not solely to their clan. It was no secret that the Uchihas had sought support from the Namikaze clan after they moved in and joined Konoha years ago. The Namikaze clan was famous for their ingenuity in seals, jutsus and spiral-type jutsus, and they were very wealthy because of this. However, the Namikaze's fame and exploits won them many enemies that sought their destruction. Knowing of the Senju clan's reputation and accomplishments, they gravitated to the Senjus instead of the Uchiha-chan, much to the Uchiha's disappointment and frustration. When Fugaku learned that Senju Tsunade returned to Konoha and adopted and claimed Naruto as her own son and member of the Senju clan, he was furious. When Sarutobi tried to calm and reason with him, Fugaku argued that having a Senju who ran away and later returned at the Hokage's request to raise and control a child with infused Hokage-level powers of the Yondaime undermined the Uchiha's ability to care for Naruto themselves. The Uchiha clan leader took it as an insult that the granddaughter of Shodai, who forsook Konoha for her own personal reasons, was given Naruto while the Uchihas were denied adoption of the boy. He argued that it was unfair favoritism toward the Senju bloodline, chiefly since the Namikazes had always supported the Senjus. He wouldn't listen to Sarutobi's words of Naruto's needed balance in his development and that the Namikaze and Senju's past relationship had nothing to do with it. Other clan leaders, the advisors, and Danzo themselves weren't given Naruto either, and Fugaku knew that Tsunade wouldn't relinquish Naruto over to the Uchiha clan without a fight, literally, and Jiraiya's later return to keep tabs on Naruto only complicated things for Fugaku. Danzo, Homura, and Koharu grew more suspicious of the Uchihas as a result, seeing how much Fugaku wanted custody over Naruto. Though Danzo also wanted custody over Naruto, however, he wasn't as adamant about it as Fugaku was. With this, along with their suspicion that the Uchiha clan was behind Kyuubi's attack, the three of them believed the Uchihas had set their sights on controlling the village. Therefore, they had the clan's land relocated to a remote corner of the village, effectively quarantining them in order to making surveillance of that clan more thorough, since a few umbu wouldn't be enough. Sarutobi argued against this, but the three of them overruled him. This led to many in Konoha losing trust in the Uchiha clan, leading to discrimination against the clan. Their mistreatment led to a lot of bad blood, and soon the advisor's suspicion became fact. The Uchiha clan came together and began plotting a coup d'état against Konoha. Fugaka was the mastermind behind the coming rebellion. They were also planning on secretly murdering Tsunade, wiping out the Senju bloodline completely, using her then fear of blood against her as her weakness. They had no intention of killing Naruto though, as they sought to take and mold him into their clan, taking along with him all of the Namikaze clan's secrets. The Uchihas were also planning on having Itachi spy on the Umbu and report back to his father and mother with whatever he found out. Later, they were going to have Itachi kill many of the Umbu by placing and hiding a toxic gas bomb within the walls of Umbu headquarters, weakening Konoha's defense forces. What they didn't know was that Itachi was an implanted spy and double agent, secretly reporting their plot and everything else he discovered to Sandaime, Danzo and the advisors. Homura, Koharu, and Danzo were outraged by their treasonous actions. Sandaime tried to negotiate with the Uchiha clan, believing that reconciliation and making peace with them was the answer. But time was running out and the Uchihas were set on getting back the prestige and power they believed Konoha robbed them of. If something wasn't done soon, Sandaime realized, a civil war within Konoha would erupt, rocking the foundations of both the village and Hinokuni as a whole. The nation would have been thrown into absolute chaos as loyal ninjas and clans of Konoha would battle against the Uchihas. And if wind of this were to reach the ears of Kiri and especially Iwa, both nations would have sent ninjas by the hundreds to attack Konoha while in its vulnerable state, thus triggering the Fourth Great Shinobi World War. Itachi was then given a secret and classified S-rank mission, exterminate the Uchiha clan, young and old. Itachi, after accepting the mission with a heavy heart, begged to have Sasuke spared on the plea that Sasuke was innocent and knew nothing of the coup d'état like the rest of the clan. Sandaime agreed and granted Itachi's request, much to Danzo's disapproval, who had his doubts about Sarutobi's act of mercy towards Sasuke. Itachi, after reporting back to Sarutobi that the job was done, left Konoha that night under the label of an S-class missing nin, being made into a living sacrifice to protect Konoha from the outside. No hunter nins were ever sent after him since Sandaime marked Itachi as too dangerous to encounter. Years later, Danzo suggested having Sai join Team 7 with Kakashi as the Academy's dead last genin. Sai's secret mission, while undergoing training, was to keep a close eye on Sasuke and deal with him should he ever turn traitor. Sandaime, Danzo, Homura, and Koharu were the only ones who knew the truth about Itachi and the Uchiha massacre. But for Konoha and Itachi's protection against their enemies outside Konoha walls and to keep his appearance as a missing nin up, the four of them never revealed this knowledge to anyone else. In spite of this though, Sarutobi didn't know for how long they'd be able to keep this secret going. Somehow he sensed that this secret would be discovered somewhere down the line. I'm getting too old for this, Sarutobi sighed when he decided to distract himself with a pastime he was sure to give him escape from reality. Putting the scroll down, he took out one of his many favorite books. Sarutobi opened it and began reading its descriptive contents. Sounds of perverted giggles were heard moments later. Meanwhile, Naruto left the hospital and started on his way to his estate after kissing Hinata and Ino goodbye and telling them he'd meet them home later. You're going out with 5 kunoichis, Minato spoke up skeptically, and none of them have any problems with this. For now at least, Naruto admitted, I did explain to you that Hina-chan and Ino-chan have no qualms about sharing me, yes? I think you hang around Jiraiya-sensei too much, Minato remarked. And you didn't, Naruto shot back, didn't you once tell Erojisan that many could learn a great deal from his example? Don't try and twist my words, Naruto, Minato retorted, that was spoken with regards to his Nindo. And I use being a pervert in my Nindo as an instrument to use against enemy kunoichis who hate such men, Naruto replied back, so far it hasn't failed me yet. Kyuubi snickered, I'm sure you'll have no problems keeping your mates in their place if that's the case. Should you have a hard time keeping up with them and their stamina, there's always Kage Bushin. Shut up you stupid fox, a redden-faced Naruto mentally shouted, only to be answered back with Kyuubi's laughter. Minato sighed to himself. I wonder what eternity in the belly of the Shinigami would have been like if being inside this belly is like this, Minato muttered into himself. After overhearing his father's words, Naruto prepared to do a set of 9 complex hand seals. Minato immediately recognized it though Naruto already reached the 5th hand seal. Cease that at once, Minato quickly interjected, stopping his son in his track. Naruto snickered at his father's panicked tone after discontinuing the ritual. You're sadistic, Kuabai grinned maniacally. Naruto continued on his way home. If you like that, then you'll love what I have in store for that Oto Kunoichi when she wakes up. She'll be begging for the Shinigami when I'm through with her. Your Anko-chan has done wonders with you, Kit, Kuabai snickered. I'm surprised that you didn't mate with that vixen despite all the obvious hints that she was in heat and ovulating. It's clear that you have a hard time keeping your head out of the gutter seeing that you're locked away in a sewer, Naruto retorted. The great fox snarled venomously at Naruto's remark to him. The fox retreated to his cage and said nothing further, leaving Naruto to his thoughts as he went about his business. While on his way, he came across Temari and Shikamaru who were walking together from wherever they were coming from. Seeing them, Naruto hurriedly made his way over to them. Tima-chan, Naruto called out to Temari. The Wind Mistress, recognizing the voice, blushed from the nickname Naruto called her by. Naruto-kun, Temari greeted with a smile as her blonde fiancé approached and embraced her, planting a kiss on her cheek. Shikamaru just looked at the sight with boredom. Naruto, Shikamaru said, nice to see that you're back in one piece. Wish I could say the same for the rest of us. I already know what happened, Naruto replied after seeing Shikamaru's bandaged broken finger. I just came from seeing how the others are doing at the hospital. Thankfully they'll make a full recovery. I see that all you came out with is a broken finger. Nothing a little soup can't fix, Shikamaru remarked, complaining about it would just be troublesome. While we're on the topic, Naruto suggested with his left arm still wrapped around Temari's waist, why don't we stop by the dango shop and get some treats while you two tell me about your mission? Sounds good to me, Shikamaru agreed, you're paying right. Whatever, Naruto shrugged as they made their way to the nearest dango shop. After getting there, the trio sat down and enjoyed the snacks Naruto bought for them. Shikamaru and Temari took the time to explain to the elite Jounin about their encounter with Teiwa and how she was taken out by one of Temari's strongest wind attacks. The Wind Mistress was surprised that Teiwa was able to narrowly survive the attack which should have crushed and end her life. And that's just about everything that happened from our standpoint, Temari said with Naruto sitting next to her at her right. Naruto was in deep thought as he contemplated on everything that Temari and the other went through. According to Temari's explanation, Hiragara and Kankuro left for their return to Suna 2 days ago after finishing a few diplomatic business they originally had to complete before intercepting the Oto Jounins that ambushed the Konoha Genins. Sasuke left Konoha for Oto in the belief that he'll get the power he needs to kill Itachi, Naruto said. His obsession with Itachi will be his undoing. From what you and the others have told me, there's one thing Sasuke and the other Oto Jounins had in common. And that would be Naruto-kun, Temari asked. Naruto responded, they all had Orochimaru's curse seal mark on them, just like Anko-chan. However, Anko-chan never resorted to ever using hers, which was why Ji-san and Ero-jisan were able to treat it, though they themselves weren't able to remove it. Even now, I'm having a difficult time wondering why I can't remove it either. Looks like Orochimaru's surviving legacy lives to continue his work, Shikamaru muttered. Naruto's eyes widened as his ears perked up on what his friend said. Surviving legacy, Naruto repeated before turning to his friend with a now serious look. Shikamaru, what became of the bodies on those Oto Jounins? They were brought back to the morgue at Kakashi-san's order, Shikamaru said. He figured that since you're trying to remove Anko-san's curse seal mark that you'd want to perform autopsies on their bodies and see what new information you can unlock. I'll have to thank Kakashi Naizen for his foresight, Naruto stated as he stood up from his seat. Where are you going? Temari inquired. Turning to her, he replied, to the morgue. I have some investigating to do. But you just came back and I barely got to see and speak with you, Temari pointed out. Can't you take a break for today and do what you have due first thing tomorrow? The blonde elite Jounin thought about going along with what he originally had in mind, but from the sound of the young teen girl's voice he sensed that there was something on her mind. Making several kage bushins, he sent them to do what he originally sought to check out at the morgue. Alright Tima-chan, Naruto said while sitting back down, my kage bushins will do my work for me while I stay and hang around with you. If that's the case, Shikamaru said as he stood up, I'll give you both your space and be on my way. Thanks for brunch Naruto. Making his exit, the shadow manipulator left the shop. So Tima-chan, Naruto asked, what did you want to do today? It's still early and the sun is up. Where do you go to relax and take a breather? Temari asked. Rather than telling her, he took her hand and shunshined with her to the top of the Hokage monument, specifically, on top of Yondaime's head. After arriving, she took a view over the cliff and saw all of Konohagakure no Sato with the afternoon sun shining over it. Wow, Temari marveled, Konoha looks much different from up here. This is where I go when I need to clear my mind and think things over, Naruto said. It's a really peaceful spot and a reminder for me. A reminder? Temari inquired. Naruto elaborated, a reminder as to why I became a ninja and why I choose to fight. It reminds me that I have precious people, family, and friends to protect with my life. Temari smiled before AA expression changed into one that shone that something was on her mind. Naruto-kun. He muttered. Taking a breath, she asked, do you really want to be with me? The elite Jounin was caught off guard by her question. He wondered if this was something that's been on her chest for some time. Is something troubling you, Tima-chan? Whatever it is, please tell me. Naruto-kun, you and I both know that our villages used us as bargaining chips to solidify this new alliance. The council back in Suna practically labeled it as my first and final S-class mission as a Chiryunin for Suna. For the sake of my remaining family and people, as a ninja I accepted and chose to come here to fulfill what was best for Suna. But as a person, I was unsure about this for a number of reasons. Naruto stayed quiet as he allowed the blonde wind mistress to speak her heart out. The council made no mention to me as to whom I was being wedded off to. I had no idea to whom I was going to be betrothed to. I was afraid that it would be to some perverted old clan leader on the council or one of the council members' sons or some ninja with a personality like my father. Your father, Naruto acknowledged, you and your father didn't have close ties with each other, did you? He's the reason why my mother died and why Gaara was treated so cruelly all his life, Temari remarked bitterly while trying to keep her emotions in check. After I learned about father's death, I was hoping to fix relations between Kankuro, Gaara, and myself, and help Gaara make a new way of life with us and the rest of Suna. That however was cut short when I was called upon to fulfill the marriage alliance between the both of us. I left home, my brothers, Jounin-sensei, and the life I lived back in Suna to come here to marry and be with you. Naruto continued remaining silent as he allowed the young girl to say what he felt she needed to say to him. If there was going to be any form of understanding between them, it was best if they were honest with each other and not keep secrets about their actual feelings. Though a part of me is grieved that I had to make that sacrifice, however, Temari continued, another part of me is very happy that it's you that I'm with and not any other guy. Despite the fact that I can no longer live in Suna with Gaara and Kankuro, both of my brothers gave me their blessings and approval of being betrothed and later married to you before they left for Suna. Being in good terms with in-laws is always one of the best things to achieve, Naruto said. Me establishing that with your brothers, however, was no easy feat. Kankuro more so than Gaara if you want my opinion, Temari replied. After I saw everything you did for Gaara and how you said he needed his family, I started liking and thinking about you more so than any boy I ever met, even though you were younger and much shorter then. Naruto frowned on being reminded that he at one time was short. I wasn't that short, just steadily maturing for my age. Temari giggled at Naruto's antics, seeing that she hit a sensitive spot about his height. Since you're being open and truthful with me, Naruto said, perhaps I should take the opportunity to be truthful with you as well. Temari turned to Naruto and listened. During the days the Konoha Council was discussing the treaty and alliance, Naruto explained, Ji-san pointed out that I was chosen by Suna to be betrothed and wedded to you. To be honest, I was reluctant at first to go through with it, seeing that I really had no say in the matter. My own actions, words, and desires were what Ji-san and his advisors used to persuade me to accept you as my betrothed and solidify the alliance without causing a political incident. I bound myself to my words about what I desire from females and I had to live by them. You said that they used your desires as one of their methods to persuade you to be engaged to me, Temari asked suspiciously. What kind of desires were they referring to? Straightforwardly, he answered, strong and desirous qualities I seek in a female. Being the son of two Hokages, one of my parents being the Yondaime won me countless attention from the female populace. However, I hated that they sought my attention and affection because of who my father was and what clan I'm from. They don't see me for the person that I am and the secret burden I carry, not only as a Jinhuriki but as a man with a lot of enemies. I found such females as shallow and wanted nothing to do with them. Yondaime are different from the other females, and I'm not saying this out of flattery. Though Ino-chan and Hina-chan knew me for the longest time and are aware that I'm the Jinhiriki of the Kyuubi, however, neither they nor Shizune Nichan ever had to go through what you did with Gaara. They can't even begin to understand the pains you went through and how your family suffered because of your father's actions. Yet, despite all that you went through, you endured through them, and with Kankuro's help, you stuck with Gaara and did everything you could to help and protect him. You always cared and looked at him as your little brother and not as some monster that should have been put to death. Though you were terrified of him, you stayed by Gaara's side, and even now you worry for him. Not once did you ever let the fact that Gaara is a Jinhiriki deter you from remembering that he's still your baby brother who had that life forced on him and that he was in need of family and friends. As a fellow Jinhiriki, I found those qualities to be fond of and desired them in females I wish to marry. You're not only a strong ninja in terms of your shinobi abilities, but also one who'd do anything to protect those precious to her. You willingly made a huge and personal sacrifice for your precious family and people, and that to me makes you strong and appealing in my eyes, Tima-chan. Temari couldn't help but blush after hearing Naruto's words to her. His reasons for finding her attractive weren't perverted or based on sexist ideals. But I had to bite my tongue down to keep from busting out laughing on the floor when you assumed that Homura-san was your betrothed. She blushed again, this time out of embarrassment from remembering that incident. That isn't funny, Temari snorted. I wasn't told who I was being wedded off to, and all I saw in that meeting chamber were old prunes old enough to be my father, mother, or grandparents. Yet you still were willing to go through with it, Naruto pointed out. Though we were used by our villages to make the alliance complete, I'd lying if I said I wasn't interested into getting to know you better for the person that you are and learn about your culture in Suna. The female Chiryunin moved closer and hugged the taller ninja as she gave him an affectionate kiss on the cheek. In that case, Temari suggested, while we're up here, let's get to know and understand each other better. Meanwhile, location unknown. Is that everything? Pain asked Zetsu. Yes, Zetsu answered, that's all that I've managed to see. Pain was in deep thought. True, he heard that Naruto was proclaimed the second Flash of Konoha, and he heard talk of how Naruto had performed the Hiration in slaughtering Orochimaru's army during the Suna-Oto invasion 2 months ago. Now he heard irrefutable testimony from Zetsu, who eyewitnessed the S-class ninjutsu performed. That little shit stain will be a serious problem for us, Hayden said. Why don't we just go after him all at once and be done with already? You really are stupid, Hayden, Kakuzu remarked. Ninjas of both A and S class already have a hard time with him, and simply increasing the number of men sent after him won't change that. And based on the reports from the bingo books, he never lost a fight, Konan added before turning her eyes to Pain, who had an unreadable expression on his face. The female Akatsuki member knew that her partner Pain never lost a fight either, and all those who challenged him have died. And when she thought about it, the same applied likewise with Naruto. We have yet to devise a way to subdue the Namikaze, Sasori spoke up. At the rate he's going, we may have a much harder time fighting him. Deidara ran away like a little bitch upon seeing the boy, Hayden remarked. Shut the hell up, you non-artistic religious prick, Deidara shot back. Naruto wasn't my target and I'm not assigned to go after him, yeah. While the Akatsuki members debated about Naruto, Itaka for his part remained silent and collected. He quietly observed all the members while keeping an emotionless expression. The Uchiha knew that Naruto was able to hold his grounds against strong enemies, but he wondered what would happen should Naruto be forced to face off against Pain himself. It would be anyone's guess how that battle would end. Pain stayed quiet. He has tried to come up with a plan of action. Naruto, having the powers and abilities of Konoha's late Yondaime and his own combined with it, indeed complicated things. Still, Naruto had a connection with Kyuubi in some form, and though he wasn't entirely sure as of yet, he wondered if Naruto was in fact the Jinhiriki of the Kyuubi that Konoha kept secret. However, characteristics of the fox's ceiling would have been made manifested were that to be the case one way or another. Deciding to end the dispute, Pain spoke up, we'll leave Naruto alone for the time being. We won't make him our concern at this time. When the time comes, we'll have better resources and strategy in bringing about his defeat. The other members didn't dispute with their leader as they waited for his next instructions. For now, Pain continued, we'll work on building up our financial assets for our organization. We'll accept whatever missions that villages and nations are offering and recruit promising missing nins as agents to help expand the Akatsuki. Collection of the Bijus and Jinhirikis will commence at a later time. We still have much preparation to do to be worrying ourselves over one ninja. Understand? Yes, Leader Sama, Kisame answered while the others simply nodded. Good, Pain replied, you have your orders. Dismissed. Pain severed the telepathic link leaving only him and Konan. Do you really think we'll be able to subdue Naruto? Konan asked. Pain turned to her with the same expression on his face. Naruto is both strong and dangerous, I will admit that. But we have a goal to accomplish and I won't let his exploits and capabilities deter us from fulfilling it. One way or another, Naruto will be brought down, even if must I burn down all of Konoha and kill everyone he cares for to do so. Chapter 54, Life Goes On. A month later. Sai, Kiba, and the rest of the genins that were admitted into the hospital were discharged 2.5 weeks ago and allowed to return home, though they had to spend the next few days recuperating before returning back to full-time ninja duty. Kiba however chose to spend his extra time being around Haku whenever she had time to spare. Ryota would crack occasional jokes, teasing Haku about how she ought to have Kiba kept on a leash and curbed since he's been hanging around her often lately. Teiwa was still in a coma due to severe injuries and massive head trauma. There was no telling if or when she'd wake up, if at all for that matter. Regardless, there were Umbu stationed in and around her room on 24-hour surveillance. During those passing days, Temari had been spending much of her time with Naruto as they started getting to know each other better. Though she's been living in Konoha for the past few weeks, she was still adjusting to life in a well-forested, cooled and watered region, in contrast to her earlier life in the hot and arid desert. Ironically, Temari was found to love and enjoy taking long hot showers, especially since water in Suna was always kept cold because of its regional climate. For that reason, there were times, when even after 30 minutes, Temari was still in the showers. In sparring sessions, Hinata and Temari were clearly found to be polar opposites. Whereas Hinata was a close-range fighter, Temari was a long-range combatant, and knowing of the Hyuga's Jiyukin, the Wind Mistress preferred using her fan to make wind attacks to keep Hinata at bay. Ino found getting close to Temari to be a challenge as well. It was clear to both genins that Temari was a well-seasoned Chiryunin ninja Suna had brought up. However, Ino and Hinata, working together, managed to find a way to topple the fan mistress. Hinata posed as the main decoy while Ino used her Shinton-shin to immobilize the wind using Kunoichi. Hinata then rushed at Temari and hit several of her tenketsus, not to kill her but enough to knock her out and leave her sore for the rest of the day. Naruto was happy to see how Ino and Hinata were able to work together with their respective familial jutsus besides working with their own teammates. In a spar against Naruto himself, Temari found going up against Naruto was like fight the Hokage herself. Though he held back, Temari wasn't able to lay a single hit on him, but the fact that he was using wind-manipulated attacks like her only made her all the more interested in how he fights, and it raised her interest in him personally, seeing that they had more things in common. She wondered if there were new wind-type jutsus she could learn from him to help improve her own fighting styles. At the vet, Hannah was at her desk doing a write-up on one of the villagers' pets that were brought in earlier for a medical examination. While doing her share of paperwork, there came a knock on the door. "It's open," Hannah replied before the door opened, revealing her kid brother entering her office with Akamaru situated in front in his master's coat. "Hey Ne-chan," Kiba greeted. Hannah looked up from her desk and turned to face Kiba. "Hey Kiba. What are you doing here?" "Coming to have Akamaru neutered." The white dog in question whimpered as he hid deeper into her master's jacket. Kiba frowned at her sister's antics. "No Ne-chan, I wouldn't want to do that to Akamaru. I'm here for something entirely different." "And what might that be?" Kiba sighed, not knowing how this was going to turn out for asking his sister of all people for this. "I need some advice." Now Hannah's attention was caught on a hook. Kiba rarely, if at all, ever came to her for advice. "It must be serious if you are asking advice from me." "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything," Kiba assured, "I just, well." He started scratching the back of his head nervously. "Yes Kiba, out with it," Hannah pressed on. "What's the best way I can get a girl to like me?" Hannah's left eyebrow raised on hearing that question, before she shot her brother with a full-blown toothy grin. What's this I'm hearing, she teased. Has my little brother found a potential mate whom he desires to bear pups with? The boy in question blushed heavily on the implications of his sister's words, though deep down the idea was rather inviting. The look on his face only made her grin even more. Have you been sniffing for pheromones? Hana teased some more. Kiba, with a crimson face, fell backwards on his butts on hearing those words. His sister laughed at his reactions, and it didn't help that even Akamaru snickered at his plight. I'm not trying to get killed, Kiba shot back as he stood back up, looking at his sister indignantly for teasing him. Besides, this girl is a very skilled kunoichi and medic-nin. Hell, even that prick Sasuke royally got his ass kicked by her in a fight he and Sai once had with her. Hana looked at him questionably. Are you serious? Naruto himself told me about it after his first mission to Nami no Kuni with Team 7, Kiba confirmed. I've heard from Naruto about what she's capable of, and from what he told me, she was holding back against Sasuke the entire time when she could have easily killed him then before Naruto showed up to rescue both him and Sai. Now Hana was really interested in the girl of Kiba's interest. Deciding to be serious, Hana asked, what's her name? Haku-chan, Kiba answered. His sister didn't miss the honorific Kiba added to the girl's name, but she went on, oh, that girl? Yeah, I met her a few times. She's Shizun's assistant at the hospital. That's the same one. I will admit that she's quite a beautiful looking young girl, Hana said. I even caught a few other guys looking her way. Other guys? Kiba growled with his eyes partly narrowed. Yes, little brother, Hana replied in the same demeanor, but she showed no interest in them, at least from what I've seen. She didn't miss the look of relief that showed on his face. So you'd like some tips on how to get her to like you more? That would help, he nodded. First off, she began, you can start by being her friend and taking the time to get to know her. I've been doing that for some time now, Kiba replied, since the first day Sakura introduced her to the other genins and I. And how much about her do you know? Hana asked. After thinking about it, he answered, she's from Kirigakure and took up residence here. She's the only certified Konoha ninja with the ability to manipulate ice. Also, she's honest, very open with people and really smart. Though she's an agile Haichunin to borderline Jounin level kunoichi, she's very gentle, smiles a lot, and practically anyone can approach her. She lives on her own since her parents died years ago, and she's very touchy about the subject of her parents' death. She's not the kind of person who judge others based on what clan or village they come from, and that fact that she spends much of her time with Ryota is proof of that. Besides being a medic-nin, Haku-chan is really modest and has a strong caring spirit for her friends and those she considers her precious people and family. She even lectured me about how having such a spirit made people like her and Naruto very strong and hard to beat. Hana sat there at her desk looking at Kiba in amazement. At first, she took what Kiba felt as some silly adolescent infatuation, but after hearing what she heard, she started second-guessing her first assumptions. I'm amazed, Hana remarked. I've learned more about that girl's character and personality than her outward beauty. Your reasons for liking her aren't superficial as I admittedly thought they were going to be. You must really like this girl. I'll tell you this, you're on the right track, Kiba. And if you want this particular girl to like you, be yourself, and don't act cocky or like a show-off like you usually do. He snorted on hearing that. I don't always do that. Don't do it at all, Hana emphasized, though you don't do this. But as a reminder, don't go on thinking you are or should be better than anyone else. Something like that is a major turn-off to girls with heads on their shoulders. Sasuke's fangirls could have used that advice back then, Kiba snorted. I repeat, girls with heads on their shoulders, Hana remarked before sneering. Further, fangirls disgust me, they make us kunoichis look bad. So Haku-chan is okay in your book. Thus far from what you told me, Hana continued, in short, don't rush anything and take the time to find out about the things she likes to do or things she likes to eat and drink. And if she's interested in you, let her learn things about the real you. But if she's not interested in you in that way, swallow your hurt and respect her decision as hard as it may be. You'll show that you care for her if you accept her happiness with whomever it may be. Kiba let out a low breath with a hint of disapproval upon hearing the last statements she said. Think about what I said, Kiba, Hana advised. Though you don't want to face the latter, however, you know that it's a potential reality you'll have to face if it ever happens. Yeah, I know, Kiba said before his own toothy grin appeared on his face, but we haven't come to that yet, so I still have a chance to earn and win her affections. Thanks, Ne-chan. Hana wasn't able to get another word out to her brother when he turned and hurried out her office. Shaking her head, she smiled, I hope she's the one you're looking for, little brother. Looking back at her pile of work, Hana decided to get back in track and continue where she left off. A week later. During the passing week, Naruto and his clones were in the autopsy lab going over what they learned from the bodies of the dead Oto Jounins bearing the curse seal markings. They found that the markings were deeply merged into their chakra coils on levels that even affected their anatomies if used repeatedly, if not excessively. Judging from the conditions of the corpses he was studying, the Sound 4 and Kimimaro had ample time to adjust and adapt to the effects of the curse seal. Speaking of Kimimaro, Naruto found his anatomy rather interesting. His bones were unlike anything he ever came across, they were practically hard as diamonds even though their deterioration began kicking in several days ago. Based on Lee's testimony, Kimimaro was truly a formidable opponent. Naruto studied all of their bodies and found that even after their deaths the curse seal's integration into their chakra coils was still in effect, through it was slowly breaking down as a result of the coils deteriorating along with their respective corpses. Naruto, with Minato's supervision, tried creating a prototype seal that would help exact the curse seal from off its host, Harai Fujin, as Naruto called it. So far, all of Naruto's efforts in perfecting the seal have failed. The following day, at the autopsy lab, Naruto was in the office sitting down by the desk. His clasped hands were to his chin while contemplating where he could have gone wrong in creating the Harai Fujin. A moment later, there came a knock on his door. Come in, Naruto responded before the door opened, revealing Sakura and Shizune entering the office. Naruto-senpai, Sakura greeted as she looked at Naruto, who had a frustrated look on his face. Naruto nodded to her while looking up from his desk. Is there something you need? No, Sakura answered, we just came to see how you've been doing. You've been hard at work for the past couple of days. Naruto exhaled as he leaned back on his seat. That damn curse seal Orochimaru made has me on edge. I've been working on ridding Enko-chan of it for some time now and still all I've hit were dead ends. Don't beat yourself over it too hard, senpai, Sakura encouraged, you'll come up with something soon enough, I'm sure. Besides, Shizune added, like all ninjas of your caliber, Orochimaru was the type that put his sweat and blood into his work, I'm sure. Many of us always put a part of ourselves into whatever we do or create. Naruto blinked a few times before slamming his head on the desk with an audible thud to follow along with it. Shizune and Sakura jumped back in surprise from the elite Jounin's unexpected yet bizarre reaction. I'm incredibly stupid and slow for not figuring that out sooner, Naruto said as he raised his head again, revealing his foxy grin, showing an optimistic spirit with his head protector hiding his reddened forehead result from his previous actions. He got up from his desk and hurried out of the office, but not before grabbing and giving Shizune an affectionate kiss on the cheek. What would I do without your brilliant mind, Ne-chan? Naruto said toothily before making his way to his next destination, leaving a confused Sakura and Shizune behind. What was that all about? Sakura asked. My guess is as good as yours, Shizune replied before smiling, but whatever it was Naruto Otauto got out of it put him in good spirit again. Elsewhere, Konohamaru and his two friends were at the Sarutobi clan compound reading a few books and scrolls given to them by Naruto. The books and scrolls entailed information about their respective nature, affinities and theories of manipulating them. Several days ago, Konohamaru started his new training with his grandfather in preparation in acquiring a contract with the apes. Needless to say, the youth found earning that contract a lot harder than he expected, especially since his grandfather wasn't going easy on him either. Still, he was willing to work hard for it and prove to his grandfather that he was worthy of acquiring and becoming the successor of that contract. Hiruzen Sarutobi was surprised that Konohamaru didn't go bragging that he was given the chance to earn a summoning contract. Upon being asked why, Konohamaru explained that from his lessons with Naruto, ninjas who bragged around their abilities and secret skills always suffer humiliation and defeat in the end when faced against a superior ninja. He explained that those who are humble and modest always reap the best results with success as its reward. It was that kind of thinking that made Sarutobi all the more willing to train his grandson in attaining the contract and helping in other areas where he was waning. During the past month, Kano Amaru and his friends started the tree climbing exercise with Naruto. Surprisingly, it was Udon that made it up the tree after 3 days. Mogi and Kano Amaru managed to do so successfully the following day. They spent the next 2 days after that practicing tree climbing, and on the 3rd day, Naruto gave them the day off to recuperate. In the beginning of the 4th week, Ebisu suggested that he'd be allowed to train Kano Amaru and his friends in the art of water walking. Naruto consented since it'd give the closet pervert something to do with his time besides reading Jiraiya's books, something Naruto also does only more discreetly. At the Hokage Tower, Tsunade was in her office doing her fair share of paperwork and documentations. She was currently working on the condition for the reparations IWA was going to have to make for the incident that occurred over 3 weeks ago. It was also to soon be discussed with the Shinobi Council. As she was working, the door to her office opened, revealing her son entering the office with a serious look on his face. Whatever it was that was on his mind, the blonde Hokage knew that Naruto put all humor aside. "Yes, Naruto," Tsunade asked, taking a break from all of her paperwork, "how may I help you?" "There's something I need," Naruto replied, "and for me to get it, I need you to do a very important favor for me." "And that would be?" "I request permission to the Umbu archives." Now Tsunade became more serious than she was before. "What do you require from there?" "I recall Ji-san and 2 other Umbus with him raiding one of Orochimaru's hideouts years ago," Naruto explained. "I'm sure that they kept some of Orochimaru's experiments and blood work secretly locked away, though to the rest of the public, all of Orochimaru's work and experiment records were destroyed." The blonde Hokage stayed quiet as her son continued. "After my brief conversation with Shizun Nichin earlier today, I deduced that I was missing a key component needed to perfecting the Harai Fusion, a blood sample from Orochimaru himself. I realized that without it, it would be impossible to perfect the seal. Ji-san though had Orochimaru's body destroyed after his death 2 months ago, and any traces of Orochimaru's blood in that area where we last did battle had long vanished." The blonde Hokage stood from her desk and went over to the cabinet to the left side of her office. Opening it, she retrieved a small scroll from it before closing the cabinet. Going back to her desk, she opened and signed the documented scroll before placing her official stamp on it. Making her way over to the elite Jounin, she handed the scroll to him. "You'll need this to gain access to Orochimaru's experiment records. Present this to the supervising Umbu captain when you see him." Taking the scroll, Naruto thanked her and continued on his way out of the office. After he left, Tsunade exhaled and thought, just like his father, once he puts his mind to something, he never backs down. Meanwhile in Taki no Kuni, Waterfall Country, Itachi was alone at an inn with his Akatsuki cloak resting on a nearby chair. He was sitting on his bed studying a few medical scrolls to deal with a problematic illness he came down with. He hid it well enough so as to not alert the other Akatsuki members to the fact that his health wasn't up to par. As he was reading, a pigeon appeared and landed down on the window. Turning to the bird, Itachi stood up and walked over to it. Looking down at the bird, the Uchiha found an encrypted and sealed message attached to its left leg. Realizing from whom and where the messenger bird came from, Itachi unsealed and decrypted the message. He read it carefully and checked to make sure that there was not fraudulency in it. Acknowledging its authenticity, Itachi wrote an encrypted reply before placing it back on the pigeon with the seal placed back on it. The pigeon flew off, beginning its return to its sender. As Itachi turned away from the window, 3 words were mumbled from under his breath: "Foolish little brother." Back in Konoha, at Umbu headquarters, Naruto made his way into the building after showing the supervising Umbu captain the scroll authorizing his access into the classified S-class archives. The blonde was escorted by Yojao to an underground section of the building where Orochimaru's experiments and other unfinished projects were locked away. Upon their arrival, the female Umbu unlocked the door and allowed Naruto into the room. He switched on the lights and found various forms of vials, scrolls, and motionless deformed creatures floating in tanks filled with preservatives. "What do you expect to find here if you don't mind my asking, Naruto-kun?" Yojao asked. "Orochimaru's blood samples," Naruto replied as he searched around the large room. "I'm sure he kept some of it in one of these test tubes in his twisted search for immortality. Though he was good in covering his tracks, however, he got sloppy just before he was busted by Ji-san in one of his hideouts when he wasn't chosen to become Yondaime." The two ninjas looked around the chamber and looked over various scrolls and vials that were there. Yojao soon came across a set of vials kept in a wooden vial holder. Taking a closer look, she found they held blood deposits in them with preservatives in them. "Perhaps this may be what you're looking for, Naruto-kun," Yojao suggested as she took the holder and showed it to him. The blonde made his way over to her and examined the vials. "Terrific," Naruto nodded before taking the vials from her. "Thank you. I'm happy I was of service to you," Yojao remarked as they made their way out. While leaving, Naruto's eyes suddenly caught sight of something that was in the shadows. The female Umbu noticed that Naruto was no longer walking next to her. "Is something the matter?" she asked. Instead of getting a quick reply, she saw the elite Jounin walked over to what it was that grabbed his eyes. It was a book of some sort that had a seal placed on it. Looking on it, the blonde found the kanji for blood double engraved on it. "What is this book?" he asked. She shrugged, "No clue. No one has been able to open it up. Whatever is in it must be valuable information Orochimaru didn't want anyone to find out about. Then why leave it behind in Konoha instead of taking it with him? He must have been confident that no one would be able to crack the seal," she replied. "In that case, I'll be taking this with me also," Naruto said as he made his way back to where Yojao was. She simply nodded as they exited from the chamber, closing the lights and locking the chamber up. Later that afternoon, Konohamaru, Mogi, and Udon were at the ramen stand with Ebisu. The three youths were taking the rest of the day off from their hard studies. "Naruto has really changed Konohamaru-kun and his friends in such a short time," Ebisu thought. "They're more focused with their studies and practice than how they used to be before when I started training them. I hate to admit it, but Naruto might be an even better teacher than I am." "Jiji is a slave driver," Konohamaru sighed. "He's just as hard as Naruto Nyakan, if not worse." "Maybe I spoke too soon," Ebisu thought with a sweat drop. "Cheer up, Konohamaru," Ayam smiled. "All good things comes through dedication and hard work." "Yosh," said an all too familiar voice. Ebisu grimaced, knowing exactly from whom that voice belonged to. "Oh no." Mato Guy appeared from behind with Rock Lee, Niji and Tenten standing beside him. Team 9 approached the group as the others turned to face them. "Konohamaru," Guy started, "I'm sure by now that you understand that no one gets anything through shortcuts in life. And those who seek so-called shortcuts often do harm to themselves and others." Ebisu felt a jab through those words but said nothing as a retort. "I know," Konohamaru replied, "Naruto Nyakan made us understand that. As hard as his training is, we still put our all in it." Mogi added, "Ebisu-sensei comes and helps train us whenever Naruto-sensei isn't able to do so." Guy nodded and turned to Ebisu. "So my youthful comrade, how has everything else been with you?" "Can't complain too much," Ebisu said. "Things have been rather quiet for the past few weeks, so dash dot." Konohamaru and Udon didn't let Ebisu finish when they tackled him to the ground just seconds before an anaconda rushed speedily at them and bit down on the counter. Ayam and Tuka jumped backwards from the surprise attack before another anaconda lashed out at Mogi. The girl jumped from off the seat before the large constrictor could abduct her. Guy and his genins turned hurriedly to the source of the attack and readied to fight, only to find Naruto standing 40 to 50 feet behind them with the two anacondas coming from out of his sleeves with his arms stretched out forward. "Well done," Naruto complimented before retracting the large snakes into the sleeves of his coat and making his way over to the group. "Seems you three have improved a bit. I'm proud to see that." "That was uncalled for, Naruto-kun," Ayam scolded with her arms crossed over her breasts. "You could have caused a scene for more than it was worth because of that stunt you pulled." "I thought it was an ambush from those ninjas from Otagakur," Tuka said with a butcher knife in hand. "I'm sorry, but please understand that Mogi, Udon, and Konohamaru are ninjas in training," Naruto replied. "It's expected for the unexpected to occur. And because of that, we as ninjas must always be on our toes and cautious as serpents though mild as doves." "Very youthful words, Naruto-kun," Lee agreed. "Your students' shining flames will burn brightly with the training you're giving them." "Me and a few others," Naruto corrected. "Naruto," Tenten asked with a smile as she pulled out her weapons scroll, "since you're so interested in training, how about we go have a weapon spar, you and me? I've been itching to test my skills and see how far I've gotten this time." This was of no surprise to Naruto or Neji for that matter, as the Hyuga turned his eyes to the weapon mistress in training. Ever since the preliminaries in Naruto's last battle with Orochimaru, Tenten have been seeking to improve her skills in the art of the staff and cunning. Frankly, she believed she could attain that by spending as much time as she could challenging the Hokage-level elite Jounin whenever possible. "You're seeking to beat Nii-chan in a spar?" Konohamaru inquired. "Get in line, because I'll be the one who'll beat him first after my training is over." "Oh yeah," Tenten remarked, "you've just started your training and you're nowhere near my league, little boy." "I'm not little," Konohamaru retorted heatedly, "and I'm sure I can beat you in a fight easily, just like how Nii-chan does." "What was that?" Tenten fumed. Udon and Mogi sighed in annoyance watching the childish scene between their friend and the older girl. Neji looked on with indifference with no remark to give. "That's enough," Guy cut in, defusing the senseless argument. "There's no need for any unyouthfulness here. And as much as I'd love to accept your invitation, Tenten," Naruto said, "I unfortunately have to go and continue on the project I've been working on all week long. So I'll see all of you later. And Ebisu, follow the schedule I outlined for the 3 trainees. I don't want them falling behind." "I'm no slacker," Ebisu retorted. "I know my priorities and I don't need you to remind me." "In that case you won't resort to your unyouthful training methods you call shortcuts," Naruto remarked with a sinister grin. "Such unyouthfulness like that would drench their flames." Naruto rapidly dashed away in a blur, missing the sneer on the Ebisu's face. Tenten's head dropped with a sweat drop after hearing Naruto purposely mentioning words of youth and flames in front of Guy and Lee, knowing she, Neji and the others were in for a speech. "Ebisu," Guy said with a serious tone, "what unyouthful shortcuts of yours was Naruto referring to that would deter these ninjas' flames?" Ebisu scowled, swearing he'd get Naruto back someday as Guy gave him a speech about helping others to work hard for their flames and youth. 3 days later, at the Namikaze estate, Naruto was in his study office revising his Harai Fusion. With the information he extracted from Orochimaru's DNA, he was able to incorporate it into his new corrected seal. At the same time, he had several of his Kage Bunshins work on deciphering the writings of Orochimaru's book after unlocking the seal that kept the book closed. While that was going on, another group of Kage Bushins were elsewhere at another facility in the estate working on another project Naruto had secretly been theorizing. No one else besides Minato who was helping him knew of this project Naruto started working on in secret since his return from Nami no Kuni. Soon a knock came at his door. "Come in," Naruto said. The door opened and Hinata, Anko, Temari, Ino, and finally Ryota entered his office. The 5 females walked over to his desk. Seeing them, the blonde elite Jounin looked up from his desk that was littered with scrolls, seals and his ink brush. "Something the matter?" he asked. "No," Anko replied, "we just came to check up on you." Hinata spoke up, "You've been multitasking with a number of projects for the past number of days." "At this rate," Ino added, "you'll burn yourself out if you don't take a break and relax for a bit." "Makes me appreciate my unmatched stamina," Naruto remarked. "I'd be way behind in my work had it not been for my ability to replicate myself hundreds of times with my huge reservoir of chakra to back me up. And speaking of work, Anko-chan, I have something that will be of great interest to you." "And that would be?" she asked. "A seal to remove and destroy Orochimaru's curse seal from off your shoulder for good," he answered. Anko looked at him in disbelief before a hopeful look appeared on her face. "You can remove this accursed seal from off me now?" Anko asked. Naruto explained, "In theory, yes. However, before I use this seal on you, I'd rather test it out on someone else first." "Who do you have in mind, Naruto-kun?" Temari asked. "No one else from Konoha besides Anko has a curse seal mark on them." "And you're right, Tima-chan," Naruto replied as he stood from his desk. "No one else from Konoha besides Anko-chan has a curse seal mark on them." He took his scroll and rolled it up before going over to his coat holding and placing it inside his coat and putting his coat on. "Where are you going?" Ryota asked. "To the hospital," he said. "There's someone I have to make an unscheduled visit to." He didn't give the girls time to dispute with him as he shunshined away from his office to his next destination, leaving the 5 kunoichis in his office. Unconsciously, Anko rubbed her left shoulder where Orochimaru's curse seal was. Being free from the seal's grasp, the special Jounin welcomed the prospect. And here we were trying to get him away from his office and work, Ino remarked. I wonder what he'll be like when he does become Hokage, seeing how he and his mother are polar opposites from what Naruto-kun told us. How are they different from each other? Temari asked in curiosity. Ino answered, she slacks off much more than he does and is often found sleeping at her desk with a smell of strong sake coming off her. From what I was told, waking her up in that drunken state is a risk few are willing to take, seeing that she usually wakes up with a temper. Temari found that hard to believe. The idea of a respected village leader slacking off in that manner so unprofessionally was unfathomable to her. In Suna, ninjas found conducting themselves in such a manner while on duty were reprimanded severely. I trust that Naruto-kun got his personality from his father, Temari remarked. Regardless, we still got time to work on him. Anko grinned mischievously as she turned to the younger females with her. After all, he did say he has unmatched stamina and a large reservoir of chakra to back him up. I'm confident that those two qualities will be more than enough to go around amongst the five of us, since we're willing to share. Plus, I'm sure he inherited a lot more from his father than just his charming personality. The younger females blushed crimson from what Anko was implying, though a few droplets of blood dripped down the younger girls' noses upon visualizing Anko's implication. At the hospital, a teenage girl with tan skin and long red hair was resting on her recuperating bed with two umbus stationed outside the door of the room and another stationed inside the room. Naruto appeared in the room and saw the masked female umbu assigned to watch over her. Naruto-kun, the umbu greeted as she bowed to him. What a coincidence, Naruto said, I didn't expect to find you here today. I was assigned to guard duty here, Yojeo said. I'm under orders to remain here until I'm relieved from my duty in the next 2 hours. In that case, Naruto said as he approached the sleeping girl, you'll be my eyewitness in what I'm about to do now. And that would be, Yojeo asked as she stepped over to him. Naruto simply pulled out the scroll from his coat and opened it. He then answered, I'm going to remove the curse seal from off this kunoichi's neck. Chapter 55, Namikaze's 5. At Konoha Hospital. In a restricted area at the hospital, Naruto was in Teiwa's recovery room standing by her bed. Standing next to him was Yojeo, who looked at the blonde questionably while he was holding his scroll in his hand. Can you truly be rid of Orochimaru's cursed seal mark from off of this Oto Jounin? She asked. Yes, in theory, Naruto replied as he opened the scroll, but I'd like to put that theory to the test. You plan on using her as a lab rat? Yojeo inquired. Does her participation in the invasion of Konoha 3 months ago, followed by her involvement in Sasuke's desertion and helping Oto attempt to trigger another war between IWA and Konoha, merit that I excuse her from this experiment? Point taken, she shrugged. Naruto pulled out another scroll and handed it over to Yojeo. This document authorizes me to remove this kunoichi off hospital grounds and into a secluded holding location designated to me by the Hokage. Show this to the other two umbu ninjas outside this room as I prepare to have the girl to be removed. Hi, Yojeo obeyed as she went and did as she was told. In removing the monitoring devices and 4 needle out of Teiwa, Naruto was careful not to do anything that would cause a risk factor in her well-being, especially since he needed her alive and in one piece in order to fully test the power of his Harai Fusion. The 3 umbus returned into the room. Seeing them, Naruto told one of the 2 males to carry Teiwa. The second male stepped forward and lifted her up off the recovery bed. They followed and shunshined with Naruto to where the secluded location was, which turned out to be the same chamber Kakashi used with Sasuke when he used the Fuja Hourin to suppress the cursed seal on Sasuke's neck. Looking around the chamber, the Yojeo and the other 2 with her saw that Naruto had already placed the required seal characters on the ground in a circular form where Teiwa was to be placed on. This guy works fast, one of the male umbus muttered in an undertone. Bring her, Naruto ordered. The umbu carrying Teiwa came and brought her to where Naruto was. She was positioned in the center of the floor where the seal characters were written. Going to work, Naruto took out his scroll and laid it down fully open on the ground. Summoning 4 Kage Bushins, Naruto had them write the necessary seals on Teiwa's body. Going over to her, they removed her hospital clothes, leaving her only in her gray panties. They then quickly got to work in writing the seals on her body. The 3 umbu watched quietly, seeing Naruto and his clones at work. That quiet atmosphere however didn't last long. "Do you really think he can pull this off?" whispered the second male Umbu to his partners. "Kakashi and even Sandaime-sama couldn't remove Cursed Seal," whispered the other male. "If you ask me, it would take someone of Yondaime's level to accomplish such a feat. But we must keep in mind that this is the same person who brought about Orochimaru's death and defeat," Yojao reminded in an undertone. "It would be best not to underestimate him." Naruto was too focused on his work to pay attention to the fact that he was the topic of discussion among the three Umbu ninjas with him. It wasn't long until the 4 clones were done. Nodding, Naruto then took out a vial from within his trench coat that contained Orochimaru's blood samples. Opening the vial, he poured a few blood droplets down upon the seals in the scroll. Closing and putting the vial away, Naruto then performed a complex set of hand signs and clasped his hands together, Funjutsu, Harai Fusion. The seals instantly started glowing with purplish-blue chakra radiating out of them. Yojao and the others watched quietly as the chakra from the seals rose up and out of the scroll and over into the seals' writings on the ground. The seals began glowing while circulating chakra that was making its way over to Teiwa's body. The chakra soon enveloped Teiwa completely and the seals on Teiwa herself started glowing also until they were absorbed into her body. The sealing jutsu went to work on her body. A moment later, the chakra was absorbed into Teiwa's chakra coils, absorbing and removing all of Orochimaru's influence. All was going smoothly when Teiwa suddenly screamed and convulsed from the ground. The Umbus were about to restrain her when Naruto halted them in their place. He had one of his Kage Bushins hold Teiwa down to the ground. "She must have been using the power of that cursed seal for a long time," Yojao acknowledged. Naruto simply nodded as he watched and observed the reactions of his seal countering the cursed seal. After another moment, Teiwa dropped back down and lied on the floor motionlessly as the chakra gradually moved its way out of her body. The chakra flowed back into the scroll and into the seals, with the kanji for seal appearing in the scroll. Rolling the scroll up after the task was done, Naruto tied it and placed it into the inside pocket of his trench coat. The Kage Bushins puffed out of existence after seeing that their work was done. Going over to the unconscious female, Naruto knelt down and concentrated green chakra into his hands and performed a thorough examination of Teiwa to check for any forms of side effects. So far, he found no physical side effects and no sign of the cursed mark or its influence anywhere on her. The Umbu ninjas in the room were now wondering what was going to happen now. "Naruto-sama," the first male Umbu asked, "what happened?" "Excellent," Naruto remarked. "Harai Fusion was a success." "He actually did it," thought the second Umbu male present in the chamber. "That's terrific," Yojao complimented. "Well done, Naruto-kun. Based on my findings, I found no ill effects to her anatomy," Naruto analyzed while passing green chakra around Teiwa's form. "From what I'm finding, her body is still healthy though her traumatic head injuries are still present." Naruto paused momentarily as he contemplated on that observation. The blonde shinobi passed and scanned Teiwa's head with his chakra-covered hand. Though Orochimaru's cursed seal has been thoroughly removed however, Naruto analyzed, her early anguish and reaction to the removal process shocked her body and forced her to temporarily awaken from her coma before shocking her back into it again. The seal's integration into her chakra coils must have had a strong influence on her mental psyche and we can only guess for how long she's been under its potent influence. In all accounts, there's no telling what mental side effects the seal's removal will have on her, if any. For what it's worth, the effects, disabling or not, could very well be permanent. "Do you suppose you can request for Inoichi-san to run a mental analysis on her?" the second male Umbu asked. "Perhaps," Naruto replied, "but he's not in town and won't be for another week and a half. Plus Inoichi works in Ibiki's interrogation unit and having him do me that favor would mean that I'd have to relinquish all responsibilities of this Otoku no Ichi over to Ibiki. Until I can discern that I can't do anything further as a result of any mental disabilities, I won't resort to that option just yet." The Umbu ninjas gave no reply as they simply nodded. Naruto suspended the chakra from his hands. "So your perfected seal will work in removing the cursed seal off of Anko?" Yojao asked with a hint of hope in her voice, hoping for her friend to have that wretched abomination taken off her once and for all. Putting his right hand under his chin, Naruto closed his eyes and contemplated on Anko's situation. After giving it some thought, Naruto stated. Anko-chan refrained from ever using the cursed seal, and the suspension seal Ji-san placed over it years ago helped to keep its influence at bay. Therefore, she won't suffer the same ill effects as this kunoichi did. Yojao nodded, though behind her mask was a look of relief. I'll take my leave and report my results to Kaa-chan, Naruto said. Return her to her holding room at the hospital and have one of the doctors put her back on the monitoring computers and 4. They nodded and followed through the given directions. Naruto made a hand sign and shunshined from the chamber, leaving the Umbu ninjas with Teiwa. Meanwhile, Hinata, Ino, Temari, Ryota, and Anko were walking together through the village streets. The sight of these 5 walking together would have seemed unusual at first, especially to those who knew about Anko's infamous reputation. Anko, Temari inquired, exactly where are we going? Some place to relax and have some fun as girls, Anko grinned as she led the way. What did you have in mind? Hinata asked. Turning to the girls, Anko looked at them carefully before a thought came to mind. I know just the place to go, Anko cheered as she thrust her fist into the air, come with me. Do we have an option? Ino remarked cynically as she and the others followed the special jounin to where they were being taken. The girls had no idea what the oldest female of the group had in mind, but the look on her face was enough for them to know that it was something mischievous. After a while, the group made it to where Anko was bringing them. Ino and Hinata's face turned crimson while Temari looked at the special jounin questionably. Ryota had a large smile of anticipation on her face. You can't be serious, Temari remarked as she looked at Anko in disbelief. You don't realistically expect us to actually go in there, do you? And why not? Anko replied, this store is one of the best in town. I'm sure Suna has one too. None that I know of, Temari said indignantly, besides those clothes are unsuitable for kunoichis. Anko snorted, excuse me? What kind of upbringing did you have? Certainly you must have read about these fashions, secretly. Temari didn't come out and say it, but she did skim through one of those kinds of magazines before. But seeing the graphic contents in it, she threw it away and never gave looking into such magazines again a second thought. Don't be such a stiff and have some fun once in a while, Anko said. Yondaime Hokage won't mind at all, in fact I'm sure he'll love and appreciate it. Ino was blushing redder at the thought of wearing such clothes Anko was suggesting in front of Naruto. The idea was rather fun and downright exciting. Hey, Anko-san, Hinata cut in, aren't we underage to be going into such a place? Frowning at the youngest of the group, Anko remarked, Hinata, being a ninja makes you an adult now. You need to stop being so goddamn shy and come out your overprotective shell. You have a body with a figure many girls would die for, and it's time you started showing that off and flaunting it in Yondaime Hokage's face. And that goes for the rest of you girls. If being ninjas at your age makes you old enough to kill, therefore it makes you old enough to wear and appreciate dash. We get the idea, Anko, Ryota cut in as she grabbed Ino and Hinata, pulling them both into the store with her. Temari stared at Anko, who shot her back a mischievous grin. Temari, you and I both know that deep down you want to go inside and try on some of those clothes. Stop denying yourself opportunities to take a break from being a ninja and being a carefree woman once in a while. Temari knew that Anko wasn't going to stop, and Ryota already dragged the other 2 girls into the store, leaving her with the snake mistress. Fine, Temari sighed in defeat, but I won't like it. Anko gave the girl no reply as she followed her into the store to catch up with the others. When the store owner and workers saw the girls, they immediately recognized them. It's them, the female store owner said. Namikaze's 5, Namikaze no Gunin, ... Namikaze's 5 became a new popular nickname Hinata and the others 4 girls were given by the villagers. Temari at first was annoyed when she and the others were labeled with that name, which became admired throughout the village. It sounded like they were somebody's property at first, but after a given time, she and the others saw they could use the name to their advantage, especially when faced against enemy ninjas or bandits. For Anko, despite her feared reputation as an interrogation specialist, the nickname served to add highlights and new respects to her image in the community, for Ryota as well, since she was once hated and avoided because of her origins. The girls were looking around the store at the clothes being displayed, many of them rather revealing. Seeing that the girls were checking out what they could buy, the store owner instructed her 3 other female workers quietly, look for some our latest and best clothes we have in stock. If word spreads that Namikaze's 5 shops here, that will increase our sales and profit for sure. Now hurry. The employees speedily went on their way to carry out their assignments. The store owner then went over to the females and greeted, "Good afternoon, ladies. May I be of some assistance?" "Yes," Anko said toothily, "we're looking for something that will allow us to feel comfortable during our off time with Naruto-kun." "Well then," the store owner smiled, "let me not insult you all with everyday sensual kimonos and lingeries. Follow me please, I think I can help you find just what you may be looking for." All the while, Naruto was standing in front of his mother's office with a folder in his hand. Standing in front of the door to the office was an umbu. "Namikaze-sama," the umbu greeted with a bow. Naruto sighed inwardly at the formality of being a clan leader. "I'm here to see Kaa-kan," Naruto said, going straight to the point. The umbu replied, "She's occupied and doesn't wish to be disturbed at this time." "Occupied my ass," Naruto snorted, "she's probably slacking off and sleeping at her desk in her drunken stupor again. She'll see me whether she wants to or not," Naruto said as he walked past the umbu who didn't dare get in his way. "Your funeral," the umbu mentally remarked as Naruto closed the door behind him. The blonde male stood with a less than surprised look on his face seeing his mother in the position she was in. Her head was resting on her arms on the desk with a small cup and 2 empty bottles of sake lying on top of her desk in front of her. Naruto walked over and stood in front of her desk. Grinning, Naruto shouted, "Stop trying to peek under Kaa-chan's breasts, Arojisen." Tsunade instantly woke up in a violent rage, ready to inflict a vicious beating on the Toadsunin, only to find that he wasn't there at all. Naruto chuckled at his mother's confused state before her mind became sober enough to remember her surroundings. Seeing only her son in front of her, she gave him an irritated expression. "That wasn't very funny," Tsunade scolded. "It did the job in waking you up," Naruto replied as he went and handed her the folder that was in his hand. Sighing, she took the folder from him. "What's in it?" "My detailed report concerning the results of my Harai Fujin," Naruto answered. His mother went through the process of examining her son's written report about the results of his Harai Fujin and Teiwa's condition. The elite Jounin stood there quietly as the older blonde read through the documents. It wasn't until another 10 minutes when Tsunade was done. Looking at her son, she said, "Your new seal was a success. That's good news to hear. But based on your report, you're uncertain as to what possible psychological side effects this will have on the Otoku no Ichi." "That's right," Naruto admitted, "however, those same side effects won't occur with regards to Anko-chan due to the different mental conditions both females have, along with the fact that Anko-chan refrained from ever using Orochimaru's cursed seal. Removing the cursed seal off of Anko-chan won't be as problematic." "Not as problematic," Tsunade raised an eyebrow. "As you already know, Kaa-chan, the cursed seal embeds itself into its host chakra coils, and the more it's used the more potent its influence and integration becomes. Though Anko-chan doesn't have that problem, however, that doesn't mean she won't experience some measure of pain in extracting the cursed seal from out of her chakra coils. As the saying goes, you don't get something for nothing." Tsunade rubbed the bridge of her nose while contemplating on her son's report. Looking down at her desk, she found her small cup and 2 empty sake bottles. "I could use a drink," Tsunade thought before returning her attention back to her son. "When do you plan on using your Harai Fujin on Anko?" Tsunade asked. "I'll set it up with Anko-chan when I see her again," Naruto replied. "I'm sure she'll most likely want it done as fast as possible. Who could blame her after the hell that cursed seal caused her to suffer through half her life?" Tsunade sighed. "Based on this report, I'll document and classify your Harai Fujin as an S-class Funkinjutsu." "What?" Naruto retorted with a look of total displeasure and outrage. "Why must it be classified as a kinjutsu of that nature like practically every other jutsu I created?" Tsunade saw the look in her son's eyes and face, which obvious showed that he was anything but happy with what she said. Taking a deep breath, she maintained her calm yet stern demeanor and explained, "You're overlooking the bigger picture, Naruto." From the sound of her voice, the elite Jounin knew to stay silent as the Godame continued her explanation. "We must keep in mind that your Funjutsu required the blood of a late Sunin, something that cannot be taken lightly. Anyone seeking access to it can't be too readily trusted, and special precautions are to be made if they are. That was why you needed a written authorization from me personally to have access into the Umbu archives to retrieve vials with Orochimaru's blood samples. With the exception of Sarutobi-sensei, Jiraiya, you and myself, anyone else who seeks permission for the use of that funjutsu will be brought in for questioning, especially if they have no previous knowledge or experience in seals of that caliber. Keep in mind that medic specialists like ourselves can derive a great deal from one's blood and bloodline limit. Orochimaru was notorious for his twisted experimentations and tampering with blood and bloodline limits. He even experimented on his own body in his search for immortality. There's no telling what someone could learn from Orochimaru's blood and how it could be implemented for whatever purpose they'd seek to use it for. That was why Sarutobi-sensei had Orochimaru's body quickly disposed of right after he died and the rest of his things locked away. Naruto found logic in Tsunade's words as much as he hated to admit it to himself. He found it ironic that his new jutsu made to dispose of Orochimaru's A-class cursed seal was designated as an S-class forbidden sealing technique because of its prerequisites. I understand, Naruto acknowledged in defeat as he deflated, I accept your decision. Tsunade was happy to see that Naruto now was calmed while thinking about everything she told him. Seeing that her son was still in her office, Tsunade decided to bring up a topic that she's been putting to the side for some time. Naruto, Tsunade started, I've been meaning to discuss with you the terms of the reparations IWA agreed to. I'm listening. She opened the drawer of her desk and pulled out a document with Iwa's official seal on it. After many negotiations, an agreement was made. The Tsuchikage is willing to pay a sum of 75 million ryos out of Iwa's treasury, Tsunade said while handing the scroll over to her son. Out of that sum, 10 million would go to Tajuna and his family, 45 million to you and the rest of the 20 million into Konoha's treasury. Naruto took and opened it to read into it. He read through the document and found the authentic signature and seal of the Tsuchikage with Tsunade's signature and seal underneath. He also took notice of the blank line underneath her name. It also requires your signature and clan crest to show your agreement to the reparations, Tsunade pointed out. Yes, so it does, Naruto replied when he placed the scroll down on the desk and signed it and placing the Namikaze clan insignia next to his name. The Tsuchikage is planning to have ambassadors arrive here to deliver the dash. I'll go to IWA myself as Konoha's ambassador, Naruto cut in, and I'll take 3 others of my choosing to accompany me as my entourage. Tsunade looked at him cautiously and replied, why would you want to do something like that? Naruto replied back, I'm sick and tired of that village holding some senseless grudge against me for what my father had done to protect Konoha all those years ago. My going there would be a sign of good faith that I hold no grudges and seek to diminish as much as possible what bad blood exists between them and my clan. The council will object to this, Tsunade argued, they won't like the idea of the course of action you're seeking to carry out. I'm not doing this for their sakes, Naruto made very clear, I'm doing this for my future children and their children's sakes. I don't want my father's past with IWA being carried over to them like a familial curse. I want to end this grudge IWA has against my clan before their hate for my family's name is carried over to Iwa's next generation of children and ninjas. And what of the Senju's name? Tsunade shot back as she stood from her seat, causing Naruto to be taken aback. There was an awkward moment of silence between them. Tsunade for that brief moment allowed her emotions to seep into her sense of judgment before regaining her self-control. After what felt like an eternity, Tsunade finally spoke up calmly, you are my only son whom I have raised all your life and that will not change. Should you go to IWA as Konoha's ambassador, you'll be carrying both the names of the Namikaze and Senju clan with you. Naruto now understood where Tsunade was coming from and what she was trying to convey to him. He was thinking too much about the reputation that Minato left the Namikaze clan with in regards to IWA and how it could possibly be fixed. With a feeling of guilt, Naruto realized that he didn't give thought to the name and honor of the Senju clan and failed to realize that his actions would reflect on both clans as a Senju Namikaze merged clan unit. Naru-chan, Tsunade continued with a voice that carried in it a more motherly tone as it's already known throughout many shinobi villages and nations, you've inherited everything that once belonged to your father and the Namikaze clan. However, I haven't yet discussed with you your inheritance from me as the Senju clan heir. Naruto's attention was now focused on Tsunade, who gave him a serious yet maternal expression in return. I'm listening, you have my attention. Tsunade was about to talk when "Tsunade-sama," Shizune called out as she barged into the office unannounced. Tsunade and Naruto turned to the young medic Jounin. "This better be important, Shizune," Tsunade said with a straight face, though angered that her discussion with Naruto was so abruptly interrupted. Shizune saw that both Naruto and Tsunade were in the middle of whatever it was they were discussing. Still, she explained what she had to say. "You're needed at the hospital immediately. 2 Chiyunins were seriously wounded with a poison we don't know how to heal." Tsunade sighed at this, frustrated that she couldn't tell Naruto what she wanted to say. "We'll talk about the matter at a later and more convenient time," Tsunade told Naruto, "but I will address the council of the request you made and see what can be done, if anything." Naruto nodded as both he and Tsunade exited the office with Shizune. He left the tower with much to think about. Later that day, Kakashi and Jiraiya were walking through the streets of Konoha together. Currently Kakashi, while walking with the Toad Sunin, was reading Jiraiya's latest big hit that was in the market, Ika Ika Paradise, The Passion of the Teacher. Kakashi, as always, was first in line in purchasing that rare golden edition that to his excitement was said to have a surprising alternate ending. After having it personally autographed by Jiraiya, the copycat ninja couldn't wait to buy and get his reading on. The thing that threw him in a loop was when he saw that the 2 lead characters, Narutobi and Ankoku, were named after Naruto and Anko. For him, it didn't make visualizing the main characters all that hard. Jiraiya was very happy at the book's success. It wasn't even a week and already it was big hit in the market, and to Jiraiya's surprise, even a movie director who bought his book was thinking about turning it into a live-action movie production. Kakashi's enjoyment of his reading was interrupted when Jiraiya decided to bring a topic for Kakashi to listen to. "The Akatsuki are on the move again," the Sunin said. Kakashi stopped reading and looking over at the older man. "Oh? What have they been doing lately? Based on the reports given to me through my spy network, they haven't been doing anything leading or indicating that they're going after any of the Jinchurikis." "You mean Naruto and Gaara?" Kakashi stated as a matter of fact. "I mean all 9 of them." Kakashi now gave Jiraiya a curious look. 9 Jinchurikis. "My sources made it clear to me that there are other Jinchurikis in the other elemental nations. Some even have 2 Jinchurikis from what I found out," Jiraiya explained. "That could be trouble were a war ever to break out," Kakashi acknowledged. "Were you able to learn of their identities?" Jiraiya let out a sigh as they continued their walk. "Disappointedly, I haven't so far. Their identities are being tightly kept in secret. They're being used as their nation's last line of defense, and for their nation's protection, their identities haven't been made public, which isn't the same for Gaara and Suna's case, I'm sorry to say. But no one else besides the chosen few know of Naruto's secret," Kakashi said, "though I admit I don't know for how long that will last and what repercussions it'll have once word about it somehow gets out. I'm sure the Akatsuki suspects something of Naruto, but thankfully they haven't confirmed whether he's a Jinchuriki or not," Jiraiya said, "but I wouldn't put it past them to go all out against Naruto when they decide to go after the 9 Jinchurikiris." They continued their conversation while continuing their walk. It wasn't long until the subjection of the discussion was over. And it was in perfect timing, especially when they saw Anko and the 4 other girls with her coming out of the lingerie store. They, along with several other onlookers, noticed that the girls were carrying scrolls, therefore what they bought was sealed into the scrolls. A number of the bystanders there were already gossiping about Namikaze's 5 buying clothes from that store. The store owner saw this and grinned brightly. It won't be long now when wind of this spreads out to the female populace, the store owner thought with a hopeful smile on her face. Looks like Anko took the girls out shopping for something rather exquisite. Don't you think, Jiraiya-sama? Kakashi asked as he turned to the Sunin, only to find that he was no longer standing beside him. Where did he go? The Cyclops ninja didn't find Jiraiya anywhere in sight. Shrugging to himself, Kakashi returned back to reading his new book as he went about his business. Sounds of perverted giggles came from his mouth moments later. Narutobi, Kakashi giggled with a blush hidden under his mask, you're just like your real-life counterpart. Back at the Hokage Tower, Sarutobi Hiruzen was in the study office smoking his pipe and, like Kakashi, reading his latest volume of Ika Ika Paradise. Though he was supposed to review a few documents Tsunade asked his advice for, he decided to take his unscheduled break and read Jiraiya's latest piece of work. Jiraiya, you never fail to amaze me with your stories, Hiruzen giggled with a blush after reading the graphic contents of the book. His favorite pastime was interrupted when a knock came from the door. Hurriedly putting the book away, Sarutobi picked up one of the documents and changed into his professional mode. Yes, come in, he said before the door opened, revealing an Umbu with a boar mask and a scroll in hand. Sarutobi-sama, the Umbu bowed and greeted before going over and handing the older man the scroll. Seeing the encrypted seal on the scroll, Hiruzen acknowledged from whom the scroll was. Turning to the ninja, Hiruzen thanked and dismissed him. The Umbu bowed again before exiting the office. Returning his attention back to the scroll, he unsealed and opened it, reading the encrypted message in the scroll. Sandaime-sama. I am returning and acknowledging your previous message to me concerning Sasuke's desertion of Konohagakure no Sato. I thank and appreciate you keeping me informed of everything that's happened, though I'm rather disappointed in Sasuke's foolish and traitorous actions. Should anything happen to Sasuke, I will hold no ill will against Konoha, as he chose to desert and turn his back to our village. I can only hope that he'll someday seek redemption and return to Konoha, though his return will be met with punishment for his actions. If he shouldn't and I encounter him myself somewhere down the line, then I'll deal with him personally. So far, nothing major has taken place within the Akatsuki, however I'm not sure what they plan to do with all 9 the Bijus once collected from the Jinhirikis. Everything is being kept in tight secret and movements in gathering the Jinhirikis have been pushed back and won't go into operation until further notice. Regrettably, I can't reveal the locations of the other Jinhirikis since their identities and locations haven't yet been disclosed at this time. What I can tell you, which you probably already suspect, is that Uchiha Madara is alive and is hiding himself under a low profile within the Akatsuki, when in truth he's the true leader of the organization. I strongly advised that you keep this information secret for now and send no one to pursue Madara. I will continue my surveillance and inform you of anything major taking place. Though Naruto-kun, Kakashi, and Godame-sama are kept informed of the Akatsuki through Jiraiya-sama's spy network, however, make sure they leave nothing to chance, especially should my cover be blown. Please protect Konoha from within the village walls while I'll do everything I can to protect it from the outside. Goodbye for now. Umbu #1A430X. Codename, Weasel. Sarutobi sighed as he rolled up the scroll and placed it into his pocket. Of all the Uchihas, Itachi was the only loyal one, and it was truly tragic that he had to wipe out his own traitorous kinsmen to stop them from triggering a civil war. What troubled Hiruzen was the fact that Madara's survival was officially confirmed by Itachi. Sarutobi was tempted to explain to Jiraiya and Tsunade about Itachi being a double agent and spying on the Akatsuki from within the organization, and the confirmation of Madara's survival in his final fight with Hashirama. However, he decided against it, seeing that it would raise a number of unwanted questions that would require explanations of dark secrets he didn't want to disclose, and he didn't want to compromise Itachi's cover and request to have the truth about the Uchiha clan kept hidden for his clan's name and reputation's sake. Secrets and deceptions surround the life of the ninja, Hiruzen though himself. Wanting to put away those frustrating and burdening thoughts, he returned back to reading his new book. A smile and blush appeared on his face, followed soon after. Later at the Namikaze estate, Naruto was returning home after a long day. Stepping in front of the door of his mansion, he was about to open it when the door was opened by Ryota, who to his surprise, was dressed in a beautifully made bright pink and red silk kimono with the design of a crane going diagonally across the kimono from the right. She was barefooted and much of her legs and part of her shoulders were exposed, revealing the violet silk lingerie she was wearing underneath. Her dark brown hair was let down past her shoulders and she wore a welcoming smile. Naruto blushed heavily while sporting a large grin. "Ryo-chan," Naruto smiled happily, "what's the occasion?" A moment later, Ino stepped forward wearing new silk-made kimono as well, except hers were bright blue and white with carnation designs going across it. She wore her kimono in the same style as Ryota, and her blonde hair was freed from its ponytail style and allowed to flow freely down her back. "The occasion is that you've been overworking yourself and you're in need of some rest, Naruto-sama," Ino said with sultry, causing the blood in Naruto to rise in his face. Ino went over and took Naruto by the hand and led him inside the mansion. He removed his ninja sandals and allowed himself to be escorted into his house by the two maidens. Arriving in the living room, he saw Hinata, clothed in a white and light blue kimono with a waterfall design made on it. She was wearing her kimono in the same fashion as Ino and Ryota, and like them she was also barefooted and much of her shoulders and left leg were exposed. She gave herself a strong thrust not to faint from how Naruto was looking and gawking at her. In her hand was a small tray with a cup of fresh warm tea. "Naruto-kun," Hinata greeted with a blush and warm smile as she presented his tea to him, which he happily accepted. He sipped the tea and looked at Hinata with approving eyes. "That was delicious, Hina-chan," Naruto smiled, causing the former Hyuga heiress to blush some more. "You have to make this more often." "Thank you, Naruto-kun." Hinata bowed before Naruto placed the teacup back down on the tray Hinata was still holding. The Hyuga placed the tray down on a nearby table. "Come with me," Hinata said as she gestured to Naruto, who followed and obeyed as he went along with what the girls were doing. Ryota and Ino followed close by from behind. They made their way to the back on the mansion where the porch was to find Anko and Temari waiting. The sight of both females before him, especially Anko, almost caused Naruto to collapse from nasal blood loss. Luckily he managed to prevent himself from doing that while studying Temari and Anko's looks. Both females were dressed in the same manner and barefooted. Except Anko, being a fully grown adult, had a body and bosoms that were more developed and pronounced. Her cleavage was more exposed, revealing the black silk lingerie she was wearing underneath. The look on her face was mischievous, but her smile could have any guy bend to her will. She was dressed in a tan beige kimono with cherry blossom designs on it. Temari was dressed in a sky blue kimono with a design of the rising sun on it. In her hand was her large fan, which was still kept closed. Like Anko and Ryota, Temari was in bright yellow lingerie, and as much as she tried not to show it, she was enjoying the feeling of the sensual clothing she was wearing. Hinata and Ino didn't have lingerie on since the store didn't have any in their sizes. Anko went over to him and unzipped his jounin vest. "Remove that in your shirt, Yondaime Hokage," Anko grinned toothily while seeing the lustful look on Naruto's face. Doing as he was told, Naruto took his vest and shirt off, leaving him in his white tank top, dark pants, and bandages wrapped around his ankles. Ino came and took the vest and shirt from Naruto and placed them off to the side. Anko gestured to Naruto to come forward and take a seat on the recliner. Naruto did so and sat back on it as Anko made her way to stand behind the recliner. After she did so, she reached out and started massaging his shoulders, causing Naruto sigh in content and bliss. Temari came forward and opened her fan before using it to fan the Hokage-level ninja. Ryota passed a few sliced fruits and grapes to Ino and Hinata before the three of them joined Anko and Temari. Hinata, Ino, and Ryota knelt around Naruto with fruits in their hands. "I don't deserve you girls," Naruto said blissfully before being fed with a grape by Ino. "I feel so spoiled." "Don't feel bad, Yondaime Hokage, Anko-kun, you're the best thing that happened to us. If anything, we don't deserve you." "Indeed," said a voice from the side. Everyone turned to see Naruto standing by the entrance of the mansion fully dressed with his arms crossed over his chest with a not-so-happy facial expression. "What the hell is this?" Naruto asked, wanting an explanation. Hinata and the other females with her were dumbfounded and baffled. They tried to make sense of what was going on. "BB, but if you're Naruto-kun," Temari stammered, then dash. "A Kage Bushin," Anko guessed. "Trust me," Naruto assured, "I would not require Kage Bushin for what you girls were doing just now. That's something I would happily indulge in personally." Anko and the girls speedily looked to the recliner and found that it was no longer occupied. Naruto was hurriedly making a swift exit from the Namikaze estate when Minato's security seals activated, trapping Naruto within the confinements of the estate. The blonde knew that the security seals were blood seals and only Naruto's blood could drop the barrier. "Damn it," Naruto panicked. "He activated the barrier seals trapping me here. How am I going to?" "Oh Naruto-kun," Hinata said with a deceptively shy and sweet voice. Naruto was in fear and dread when he felt the massive bloodlust aimed at him. Slowly, he turned to see 5 enraged kunoichis looking at him. Hinata had her Byakugan fully activated with what looked like extra veins appearing from the sides of her face. Temari's fan was completely opened with 3 stars appearing on it. Anko had vipers slithering out of the sleeves of her kimono. Ryota's fists were covered with gauntlets made out of sharp rocks. Ino cracked her knuckles as she prepared to use her father's Shinran's Hein no Jutsu, which she recently learned from her father. Surrounded, Naruto was about to make a run for it when gravel-made vines appeared out of the ground and wrapped around Naruto's ankles and wrists. "What's the hurry?" Ryota said after pinning his ankles to the ground. "This party is just getting started and you're the star attraction." Naruto, with fear in his heart for what was about to befall him, pleaded, "Have mercy." Outside the Namikaze estate, Kakashi was making his way over to Naruto's place when that was followed by sounds of explosions and fierce beatings accompanied by the yells of several angry females. "Not the face. Not the face. No please. Not there either. Perhaps I should stop by here later," Kakashi said as he turned and walked off while hearing the poor soul's unanswered cries for help. "I'm sure he'll pull through this one like all the other times." Later that evening, Jiraiya was back home in his room lying in his futon and covered in bandages. The beating he received from Naruto's girls would have killed a normal jounin, if not cripple him for life. Tsunade left a while ago after giving him a vicious verbal lashing for the latest perverted stunt he pulled on Naruto's fiancés. That of course didn't go without her giving him a few hits of her own, much to his grief. Luckily, Naruto was still with Jiraiya tending to his many injuries and snake bites since Tsunade wasn't willing to do so. "You're just of a glutton for punishment," Naruto added while changing his bandages. "I faced worse than this," Jiraiya grunted. "You'll never change," Naruto remarked. "Are you going to give me a verbal lashing and beating like Tsunade? Jiraiya inquired. "Quite the opposite really," Naruto said. "That stunt you pulled did me a favor in teaching those 5 girls a lesson. You have my gratitude." "Excuse me," asked a confused Jiraiya, "what are you talking about?" "As Kaa-chan told me earlier today, I have to see the bigger picture. And Kakashi Naizen always tells me to look underneath the underneath." "Okay, now I'm lost," Jiraiya replied. "Would you mind speaking straightforward rather than in riddles?" "You were able to deceive Hina-chan, Ino-chan, and the rest effectively," Naruto explained. "They had no idea that you were posing as me, not that it was your first time doing so. One would think that skilled ninjas like Anko-chan and Ryo-chan would be able to tell the difference between the real person and a henge. But as you proved time after time again, you can make yourself as inconspicuous as possible if you so want to, especially since espionage is one of your specialties. The way you deceived Kaa-chan all those years ago when you first posed as me seeking to get breastfed by her is proof of that, and she's a Sunin. She had no idea how or when you snuck into her room and turned into a baby version of me. I'm sorry to say this, but from the way it looked, one would say that you could have had your way with her." "Hey," Jiraiya retorted indignantly, "though I'm a super pervert however, I know my limits and even in my standards the act of rape is grounds for death." "Yes I know. So going back to the previous topic, Orochimaru was able to sneak into the village posing as a Jounin sensei, and the Yondaime Hokage all during the Chunin exams without anyone noticing. That was until I interrogated one of his Oto Jounins and forced him to reveal to me Orochimaru's location. Before that there was the Rogumbu who tried to kidnap me when I was still an infant that did likewise in being an ace in deception." "Where are you getting at Neo Yondaime Hokage?" Jiraiya asked. "Yours, Orochimaru, and that Rogumbu's actions prove that bloodline limits, dojutsus and special jutsus of any sort mean nothing when faced against high-level experienced ninjas who can get around them. The way I beat Niji and killed Sujiro testifies to that as well. Plus, you didn't become the strongest of the Sunin simply by being the self-proclaimed super pervert. The lesson you taught those girls is that if they're not careful in looking underneath the underneath, an enemy ninja of your caliber could bypass their defenses when their guard is down and kill them. Deception is all part of the life of the ninja. I'm happy that despite what happened, you found constructive points to take from it. If you like," Jiraiya smirked with a lecherous smile, "I'm open to giving them lesson 2 in Uo." Naruto abruptly cut him off when he intentionally pressed a washcloth soaked with rubbing alcohol hard against an open injury on his back. "Oh, you said something Erojisan," Naruto asked with mock innocence. Jiraiya grumbled incoherent curses under his breath while feeling the burning stings on his back. Naruto continued tending to Jiraiya's injuries before returning back home. At the Namikaze estate, Hinata, Ino, Temari, Ryota, and Anko were all sitting in the living room still dressed in their new kimonos. Neither of them said a word to each other after the stunt Jiraiya pulled on them. The silence though was soon broken. Damn him, Anko cursed, I should have neutered that pervert and poured ammonia over his crotch. He tricked all of us, not just you, Ryota said. Hard to believe that a son-in of Jiraiya-sama's stature is that kind of man, Temari said. Girlfriend, where have you been? Ino remarked cynically, he's the writer of those orange books Kakashi-sensei loves reading so much. He is, Temari asked, recalling catching Kankuro reading one of those books once before beating him with her fan for doing so. Beiki though was careful not to get caught, knowing that Temari sometimes had a bit of a temper, and seeing that book only made matters worse. Before the conversation could escalate, Naruto Hiraishined into the living room. He was standing outside his house just seconds ago. But to solidify that he was the real thing, he executed a jutsu that only he as the sole son of the Yellow Flash could do. I'm home, Naruto smiled warmly. The girls were a bit reluctant to greet him. He saw that they were still embarrassed and ashamed about what happened earlier. It's alright, Naruto assured, Ero-jisan got his fair punishment and it wasn't like any of you meant for what happened to happen. But we put a lot of thought in catering to you earlier today and it was all ruined, Hinata said sadly. You've been working so hard lately around the clock for the past number of days and you barely gave yourself a break, Ino said. It was like you didn't have time for anything else besides your work, Temari added. Naruto inwardly flinched on hearing that. Was I that preoccupied and negligent of the girl's personal needs and want for my attention, Naruto thought with a feeling of guilt. He saw where they were coming from and found that lately he placed his work before them and anything else too frequently and barely made time for them. With that in mind, an idea came to his mind and after thinking it over, he came to a decision after putting all other matters and concerns on his mind on hold. Will you all excuse me? Naruto asked before he shunshined away from them. What do you suppose he went to do? Ryota asked. Beats me, Anko shrugged. At least he wasn't angry at us, Hinata said with a relieved expression. He didn't stay long to be around us either, Temari remarked dejectedly, causing the other girls to deflate with lowered heads. It wasn't until a few minutes later when Naruto returned, standing by the living room entrance. When the girls turned to see him, blood spilled from out their noses. He was barefooted and wearing nothing but his tiger skin loincloth with his muscles and build radiating in all their glory. In his right hand was a large bowl filled with sliced fresh fruits and a bottle of expensive perfumed oil in his left hand. His headband was removed off his head, allowing his now partially combed unruly spiked hair to flow freely while covering his Sozo Saigen shadow seal that was on his forehead. Desire and lust was already growing in the girls' eyes and hearts. Wow, Hinata thought excitedly, Naruto-kun looks a lot better than before when he last wore that. I can't wait to run my gentle fingers on him. Married or not. Damn, he's hot, Ino mentally yelled heatedly, I so want to know how his skin would feel against mine. This is the Namikaze clan leader, Temari blushed heavily with blood seeping down her nose. She was currently trying to make coherent sentences but nothing she was saying was making sense as she was too busy gawking at him. And they call old man Sarutobi-sama the god of ninja, Ryota thought while drooling at Naruto, what I'm looking at is a god in flesh? Anko licked her lips with feelings of sexual lust while eyeing the Namikaze who looked back them with a teasing smile. Ever since he was weakened in his fight with Orochimaru and the four resurrected ninjas, Naruto pushed himself hard in the effort to regain his previous strength and power. Tsunade though protested and restrained Naruto from going beyond his limit because of his physical condition then. But from the way he looked now, one wouldn't think he was weakened at all. In fact, he looked a whole lot stronger than before. Seeing that you girls had a hard day today, Naruto grinned, how about I treat you 5 to snacks and body oil rub-downs? After all, I am a medic nin and physical therapy is one of my specialties. There was a brief moment of silence as the girls registered what Naruto was offering, especially seeing that he was wearing his original tiger skin loincloth that he surprisingly kept since the Chunin exams. Are you confident that you can handle the 5 us? Anko asked with a lecherous smile. Like I said earlier today, Naruto smiled back, I'm a man known for his unmatched stamina and huge reservoir of chakra. Plus, I'm a man known to never give up. I promise to satisfy all of you. And I never go back on my word. It's my Nindo. Check the description for the links to the author.